Hey everyone, this is
Oh my
Luck,
god,
and
no, 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 no. Not the fucking things again. Oh my god, okay, we've been having trouble with Fujitech today. Fujitech is fucking breaking down. Okay, fuck it. Fuck it, we're doing
PNG,
static PNGs. We're
PNG.
doing static PNGs. We're doing static PNGs.
By the way, everyone, Lily does commissions from time to times. If you liked my profile picture, that one was $5, and it was of a D&D character of mine, of Rex, the greatest, bestest, superiorest dragon.
Rux appears in this fucking these notes at some point. Let me see.
Does he really? Is he recording Festus?
You'll see. Okay. I gotta use my mouse strategically with this. As so long as everything is looking okay, so long as everything is sounding okay, then we're good to go. I shouldn't need my mouse too often, I don't think. Um okay. Lost
I gotta
Hero.
let's see.
Lost Hero. We read a book. We read a book this month. Last month.
We did? When did that happen?
We did. It happened over the course of August. We read this book and a little bit of October. Probably no, a little bit of September, I mean. Though I don't know how much you crammed for this one to get this one finished this week.
I honestly didn't cram that much. I actually had paced myself kind of well. Where I think it was like I gave myself 2 weeks, where it was like 6 chapters per each day.
Okay. Okay, that's not
Yeah,
bad.
well, it's and 6 chapters is very specific because that is one round of perspectives. Because this book actually features three perspectives instead of Percy Jackson, which had one, or Red Pyramid, which had two. This
And
was three.
well, okay, we're gonna get to that. Let me start off with just a good old summary, with a good old funny little summary before we get into that, because in my notes I've covered like every aspect of this book that I could potentially think of, from the structure to the characters to the plot to everything. And so let's just start us off. Let's land us off with just a summary. Percy Jackson is back. Oh wait, no, I'm getting word.
I thought he died.
Shut the fuck up. Let me do my thing. Oh my god. I'll kill you if you try that again.
No.
Let's take it from the top. Percy Jackson is back. Oh, wait, no. I'm getting word that the part of Percy Jackson will be played by one Jason Grace. Huh. Mere months after the last Olympian, Percy Jackson is missing. But before we can get to that exciting plot and characters we care about, we have to meet amnesiac Jason Grace, son of Zeus, and his two friends, daughter of Aphrodite Piper McLean, and our very special boy, son of Hephaestus Leo Valdez. These three misfits must travel across the country to rescue everyone's least favorite goddess, Hera, while learning more about themselves and each other along the way, assuming the spy in their midst doesn't cause our heroes to all crash and burn. It has action, adventure, romance, and it is statistically where you fell off from the series as a kid. Get ready for the Heroes of Olympus, the Lost Hero. Spoilers. Also, finally, the joke I made with the title of the stream series makes sense. The Book Club of Olympus is featured prominently on like most of the streams in the background. It's just the big old title there. Finally, it makes sense.
Yeah, it made even less sense last time when we were doing Egypt.
Well, I don't think I kept that
I
title,
know.
but yeah. Okay. So, I'm gonna start us off with some opening thoughts. And I was telling you earlier that like I'm a little harsh on this book. And that harshness comes out of one, just a general desire to, I don't know, analyze shit, and sometimes that means being mean, but also out of love, I'll say. I was engaged with this book. I was trying to think a little deeper about a lot of its themes. Sometimes those fell short, and I will rip it to pieces for that in due time. But I generally liked this book. I think we both generally liked this book.
I'd say so.
So my opening thoughts, I had fewer notes to sort through than I expected, considering this is the longest book we've read for this so far. Third longest in the whole series, by the way, so it does get longer than this. In case you needed more motivation to, learn how to pace yourself better with these. And this book shows that the world Rick Riordan has set up is really cool and stands on its own, because even with a boring as shit protagonist, it's still an enjoyable read. But But I also understand why I found this one unmemorable and remember it on average less than I did the other books thus far. Because I was even thinking about it, like, the other books I read more as a kid. Well, this one I read originally as, like, a young teen. So it was technically the most recent book. No, not the most recent book in the series I'd read through. Technically was, like, half of Mark of Athena before I dropped it. But this, though it is more recent than the others, I realized I remembered literally nothing about the details of the plot. Like, absolutely zero, zilch, none of it sunk in.
What
And
do you
that's
mean
weird.
they did the
I mean, now I
crap.
remember. Now I remember because I took all those notes. But, like, back that I read this as a teenager, but I remembered it less going in than I did the books that I read as a kid. So I don't know what that tells you. We're going to talk a lot about the pacing, the structure, and how sometimes that's kind of working against itself a bit. But yeah, so I was really hard on the racial stuff in Kane Chronicles. It became what I turned the clickbaity, like, that's kind of what I, like, centered the whole clickbaity title of the VOD around. I'm not feeling as icky about it this time, but I wonder if that's just because I'm not Mexican or Cherokee, and those being, Leo being Mexican, Piper being Cherokee. So I'm wondering if, like, maybe the issues aren't occurring to me because I'm not necessarily in the know. So I'm kind of just there as like a passive reader, just being like, well, this seems fine to me. This seems okay. But we were in private just talking. You said that you theorize it's more because he doesn't necessarily go into it as hard as he did with Carter. That it's a lot of it is more by implication, and a lot of it is more like, how would you put it?
What you can infer from how the characters react or say certain things in their narrations, rather than things that are outright shown to us.
Yeah. That's
A lot of this focuses around one of the characters as well as her dad, which we will get into.
It's less the character sitting down and trying to have uncomfortable racial dialogue, and more us understanding the issues they go through by, like, the shape of it all, I'll talk about that a lot when we get to Piper more in depth, and especially Piper's dad. I think some of that's interesting, even as some of it is, like, a little flawed in its own way. So yeah, the structure of this, we talked about this, is that it is an alternating POV with 2 chapters per character. Cycle goes like Jason, Piper, Leo, Jason, Piper, Leo. Rather Jason, Piper, Piper, Leo, and then back again. So this structure works sometimes in that I think it does allow for a sort of forward momentum. I do like just having more than one POV there, especially since, like, if in case one of the POVs is just not that entertaining, doesn't matter, you'll get a new one right soon. And I think in practice that would be good if it was like, everyone has their own favorite. But I think we both had the exact same favorite. Was the problem. I think one of those characters is substantially more charismatic and interesting than the others, and it's slightly unfortunate that that's the case.
Yeah, honestly, in a weird way, I feel like a lot of Jason's backstory kind of hampered him, because a lot of his internal monologue was, oh no, my memories, and I need to push on.
Mm-hmm. So, it's also the fact that, the structure also really works against it, because I'm sure you noticed this too. Some of the chapters are very, very short, where it's sometimes very clear that maybe he only had one chapter, if even that much of content for whatever POV he was getting around to. And as a result, it, like, kind of fucks with the pacing. And considering how long this book is already, the pacing was already tenuous.
Yeah, I think those short chapters were typically just, oh yeah, the characters unite back with each other after getting separated.
Yeah. And,
in a way, I'm a bit torn. I know you're saying you like the switching POV formats. I'm still on the fence about it.
I didn't say I liked it. I said that I saw the logic behind it. I didn't say that I liked it. Though I can see why someone might choose that.
Yeah, well, as I was saying, I'm still personally a bit on the fence about it, because I feel like some things kind of just needed a little extra time to linger through. And we didn't get that. It just swapped perspective.
I mean, the unfortunate thing that I'm then going to point out is that it's going to be like this throughout the entirety of Kane Chronicles and all the way up until like we hit Trials of Apollo finally. I couldn't tell you if Magnus Chase has that structure or not. I think it's one POV for that one. I could be mistaken. But they're going to be doubling down with this.
Like I said, I'm just personally on the fence about it, but I still accept it.
I think if he can work out the kinks, it could have potential. But it's just the problems showed, and I think one problem too that we both saw with this repeatedly was that like every character gets this at some point. They will have a big emotional or watershed moment, and then the POV will switch to a different character, and we're stuck like just having to guess what they're feeling about that. It results in a lot of big emotional beats just not landing very well because we don't really have the time to process them before we're already worrying about whatever the other character has going on. And it just means, this is kind of where I go into where it's like, oh, I think I get why I didn't remember this book very well. Because yeah, a lot of times things just don't have like time to land on you as a reader properly, and this is a big part of it. Just like not giving things time to breathe, and just the book is big and it's dense and has a lot of stuff packed into it despite its large page count, and sometimes you really, really like crave breathing room. Sometimes especially when it starts to kind of drag around the middle part.
Mm-hmm.
But
it was shockingly congested.
It was. Yeah, all that being said, I think I liked it. This isn't Red Pyramid. I think I give this a soft recommendation, provided you've read the Percy Jackson books and are thirsty for more. You could theoretically start from here, but I wouldn't recommend that. And The Lightning Thief remains the best thing we've read in the series anyway. So, like, soft recommend. If you've read the Percy Jackson books and you just like haven't read these ones in a while, I know we're gonna be harsh about it, but like, I think
or harsh out of a place of enjoyment.
I think you should read them. Actually, and I'm also like just actually looking forward to where the rest of the series will take us. So where I think we finished Red Pyramid and we're like, we need a break from Red Pyramid. Actually, we need a break from Kane Chronicles, maybe. So
yeah, personally. Yeah, not to get too much into the comparison, but I think I did find myself enjoying this more than the Kane Chronicle book we read.
Mm-hmm. And I honestly, I was looking at the list of being like, oh, it's Throne of Fire next, and being like, okay, back in the mines. back in the mines. You gotta we had this one break, but just we gotta read. Throne of Fire is a much shorter book, and then we get Son of Neptune, and I know we're all looking forward to Son of Neptune.
Mm-hmm. I think I know exactly what that one's going to be about.
Percy's long lost brother, of course.
Oh yes, Tyson was the brainwashed one this whole time. You see.
Yeah. Okay. So, we're gonna talk a little bit about the characters, and then we're gonna get into the plot. We're gonna explore the plot thoroughly, and then, as usual, we're gonna end off with our themes, with our final thoughts, final recommendation. Obviously, basically spoilers from here on out. As always, we recommend reading the books alongside listening to this. Just because I think we should all read more. I don't know, even if it's just a silly little book like this. Something.
Literacy has helped.
Something. Watch these and read along with us, and maybe we'll read real books one day.
She's gonna force me. I can almost guarantee it.
Yep. Okay.
You got close to mind for that.
Yep. Okay, so characters. First off, Jason. He's like the de facto protagonist of this, basically. And I think we both agree it's kind of boring. Yeah.
Yeah.
He is very much protagonist man. Generally does the right thing, is mostly lacking in sauce or sass. And I understand that being mostly a choice in order to separate him from Percy a bit, who is all sauce and all sass. But Jason really, really desperately needed to have like something going for him, like anything. I kept on wanting him to just have something going for him. He's really, at the end of the day, your average nice jock, not much between the eyes, and not in a dumb way, but in a he doesn't have all that much personality way. Occurred to me halfway through that another part of it is that you meet him essentially fully formed, already being a badass, already, I guess first spoiler, being a veteran camper of the Roman camp, who essentially went through his own little Titanomachy during the last Olympus, during the last Olympian, and who is completely battle hardened, and as a result, there's not too much room for him to grow here necessarily.
Yeah, basically, he had the experience of Percy. He's just a different person and just has to go through that route.
Yeah, but okay, no, you're completely missing the point of what I'm fucking saying here. The problem is that yeah, he had the whole same journey as Percy. That's the fucking problem.
Yeah, and we didn't see it.
We didn't see any of it. We didn't see shit.
Yeah.
We start him off and just he's worse than a blank slate. He's a blank slate that's also kind of overpowered because he did all these cool things that we don't get to see. And as a result, you just kind of feel very little for him at the end of the day. He is protagonist, man. He that's something, I guess, but I don't know. Some spice was needed. He's incredibly white bread, and you know this just by looking at him.
Yeah, because like I was saying, he has basically, if we had gotten this book, but Percy. Actually, hold on. I need to take a step back to reform my thoughts.
What? I have a thought right in the chamber. I a little bit weep for the day that we're gonna get the Percy Jackson live action version of him, because with Thalia being black, he's probably going to be black too, and this could very easily just go fully into the unfortunate archetype that you get a lot with kind of fashy, kind of boring, blank slate black male protagonists. I see that way more often than I would like, where it's they make the black one fascist. This could be very dangerous. This could be very dangerous territory if they do it wrong, or if they even bother to adapt that far.
I guess we'll have to see. But shall we get into the story or
no,
more characters?
We have more.
Because
we didn't even finish talking about Jason. What do you mean getting into the story?
Oh yeah, true.
Keep your fucking head on. We need we
no.
to go through. Okay, so the main interesting thing around Jason is a lot of his family drama. It's a lot of external stuff with him, which is, to me, generally the sign of a character that, could probably stand to have a little more going on. Sometimes you can do a character that really only has external conflicts and really does not have too many internal conflicts. But it's just not my preference, I don't think. But yeah, he's the brother of Thalia Grace, who, as we know, also had some pretty severe mommy issues, so he gets them by proxy, basically. And, well, I don't know,
the daddy issues weren't any better either.
Yeah. I mean, surprisingly, he seems to get along with Zeus shockingly well. Shockingly well. Oh my god. Zeus helps him out actually quite a for the gods not supposed to be, we start off with the plot where the gods are silent, right? The gods have not spoken to any of the kids for a while. It's implied to be that they're on their own for this adventure, basically. But boy, does Daddy Zeus come to his help multiple times. Actually, it was interesting. I was like, huh, okay. But let's move on from him for now, before I get any more salty. Let's get to Piper. So her story gives me pause for a lot of reasons. It's basically presented as a not like other girls arc. She starts off majorly rejecting anything girly or pretty, which causes issues when she gets the blessing of Aphrodite and is given a makeover for a few days. And oops, she's gorgeous, actually. which by the way, Jason mines some point. Oh yeah, it's not perfectly fucking clear. Him and Piper are like
Love interest.
the breeding pair. With let's say, uh,
Oh, that sucker punched me.
they're the token heads. Don't worry about it. Jason mines some points with her by liking her better when she's wearing what she finds comfortable. And yeah, even if oftentimes the relationship is boring as rocks, you don't really understand why they like each other aside from boy and girl, but I don't know. I'll double down on that point later. Ostensibly, her arc is about coming into her own and gaining confidence, defining femininity for herself. Problem is that it comes across as weirdly judgmental towards girly things, and because of that switching POV problem, we never have enough time to work through that. Like, I would have loved that. I think many girls and women have to go through. What the fuck was I writing here? Let me just ad-lib this. Okay, so a lot of girls and women go through this phase when they're younger of like a whole not like other girls phase where they decide that pink is disgusting and all things girly are horrible and gross actually. And well, the thing is that on its own is kind of very misogynistic actually. It's like a product of internalized misogyny that basically a lot of women find themselves in these phases where they view their self-worth as being reliant on some rejection of their literal own identities. And a part of growing up, I mean, theoretically, I know a lot of women who absolutely do not grow out of this phase, and I mourn for them truly. But part of growing up is admitting that was misogynistic, and admitting that like hating pink is not the worst thing in the world, and that Twilight is good actually. But like Piper never quite gets to that point is kind of my problem here. It never quite manages to follow through in that way. You could argue that it's implied, there are hints of it, but again, that's it. That becomes another symptom of the whole like, well, POVs are switching so fast, emotions rarely have time to land, arcs come across as a little half-baked sometimes. She's not a bad character though. I think her POV is done really well. She comes across as very thoughtful, and her power set of basically infinite Jedi mind tricks, it's called charm speak in this way in this book, is really cool actually and implemented very well. And I think the most interesting part about her is definitely her arc with her father, which I'll get to later. I think we both have a lot of words about that. And Leo, he's our very special boy. He can do no wrong. He is perfect. And end section. No, okay.
He is introduced as Funny Man.
He's introduced as Funny Man. Are you going to continue, or?
I was going to say, well, at least that's how he's introduced. But for the meantime, he is the best friend character. He's there kind of off to the side, there with a quick joke every so often.
He's the best friend comic relief. There's certainly nothing deeply wrong with him. He's certainly not traumatized.
He's totally mentally stable.
So actually, Leo is an incredibly sad character, and I mean this in the best way possible. He's incredibly angsty, and this is the juice and the spice that I think we were both craving when we opened up. I
love that Reardon just said, "Aw, child, trauma."
Traumatized the shit out of him for fun.
Traumatize this kid.
He's also a very decent portrayal of like ADHD, like autism ADHD combo. Struggling both with pretty obvious hyperactive tendencies as well as general problems with connecting with and understanding others. And the ADHD thing seems to be just the general demigod thing, but the autism seems to be something he gets from his father more. Hephaestus also states at one point that he just does not people very well, and but yeah, he has the fire ability. He has a fire ability, a very rare ability of Hephaestus's children, and also low-key a portent of doom. And this is also where I put my note here of like, you can tell that Reardon wrote himself into a corner here, giving all the cool powers to the big threes kids, and then upon wanting to expand the cast, he had to toss the others a few extra abilities for fun. He's like, okay, we need to round out this cast. You get something cool.
It's just like, shit, charm speak, fire.
It's like, oh yeah, charm speak. It was definitely always the thing that existed in the books. Yes, do not read back.
I actually do kind of want to put a note here of I like that we got to see glimpses of some of the other cabins with these other POVs,
I
just
do
because then we're
too.
like, yeah, because it's like, oh yeah, we get to see that even though they weren't focused on, they still had their stuff going on. So like, nice little crumbs of world building, you know?
I make fun, but this is a positive change in my eyes. I like that we're now getting a cast that like feels a bit more well-rounded out, and that it feels a bit like a larger world, and all the power isn't hoarded to the children of just the big three, and it just makes the whole place seem brighter, more colorful. It's better for like, inserting yourself into it, which is what I assume, all the kids reading want to do, right? They want to imagine themselves in one of the other houses, and they're not all going to identify with the big three houses. I don't know about you, when I was a kid, like identifying with one of the big three houses was like it's too don't do it. You don't do it. That's like you want to be the most special one? No. You pick one of the other ones. You pick one of the other ones.
I think I get what you're putting down.
Yeah. I don't know. It was just not done. It was just not done. It was too like like the playground equivalent of being like, oh, I know you cast laser beam on me, but I actually have the shield that is impervious to laser beams, and it's like, oh, now you're just not playing fair. Now you're just not playing fair anymore. This widens the playing field for sure. But so one thing about him is it was pretty rare that his POV furthered the plot too much, but I almost always looked forward to it just because he's so fucking sad. God damn it. Someone needed an effective emotional arc for this book to be worth reading, and I'm glad someone had it at least. He I think comes the closest to having an actual complete emotional arc, and maybe helps too that his was on paper the most simple to achieve. It was very much like if he starts off lonely. Is he lonely by the end of the book? No. Emotional arc complete. And all these demigods have issues with their mortal parents, but Leo's is the only one that where it doesn't feel like that's all he has going on, even if it was a clear watershed moment for him, which is again
he
how
has like at least 3 different things going on at any given time.
It's again how I separate him from Piper or Jason, where all of Jason's issues all seem very external. Piper is more of a mix. Leo's is more like pretty much entirely internal conflict. And well, you can tell which one we like the best. You can tell which one of those we prefer. So with that,
but I'm only slightly joking when I say he has 3 different issues going on at any given time. Sorry, Lily, go on.
Because of the ADHD, he can't. So many goddamn irons in the fire. God, Homestuck reference, whatever. That's next. That's end of the month. That's end of the month, and you're not even gonna be there. You get a pass. You get a pass on reading Homestuck.
Yay! I should probably read it anyway, but I digress.
So, we can do our chapter by chapter. This will be the largest chunk of this. We're just gonna go one by one. Some chapters will have a lot to say. Some chapters we will really not. I just write these as I go along mostly, and then I come back to just make sure that what I wrote wasn't complete nonsense, and cut out some of the stupid jokes, but not all of them, and also like organize it. If sometimes I'll like be on a chapter and I'll like a bit of analysis will come to mind, and so I'll just write out a big chunk, and then it is my job later to make sense of that or put it in a different place if I need to. Or sometimes I just don't keep it in a different place. Sometimes I just leave it there just for fun. This is a mess. Luck doesn't organize his notes at all. I don't know why I fucking try. Let's continue. Chapter 1.
You don't call me out like that.
I will.
Directly. I mean, it's true, but don't say it.
Okay. So chapter 1 starts us off in the deep end. Yes. Jason wakes up in the bus on the way to a summer camp for troubled youths, like almost borderline a correctional facility.
Yeah.
With absolutely no memory of who he is, where he is, or who any of these people are. The people claiming to be his girlfriend Piper and his best friend Leo are naturally incredibly confused. And you pretty much immediately are thinking about the consequences of all of this, as well as like starting to put together who's who. Luck, I think, literally after chapter 1, like messaged me being like, "Oh, so yeah, Leo's the Hephaestus kid, yeah." Like that's who he is. That's pretty obvious. Piper's is a little harder to pin down, but they do obscure it on purpose.
Yeah,
Um,
honestly, with the rebellious spirit and the choice of attire, I was half thinking, is this going to be another Ares?
for
Similar
Piper,
to like that. Yeah, similar to like that of Clarice. She wasn't
okay.
Bill, but she definitely seemed to be of similar fashion choice.
That's you know what? That's a theory. That's a theory.
I feel wrong one.
A wrong one, but that's a theory. I mean, of course, in hindsight, now that you know her whole arc, the Aphrodite thing seems so painfully obvious. She's introduced as having
Yeah.
like she's introduced as being not frumpy, but as someone who like I don't know, stereotypical teenage girl who maybe does not quite know how to dress herself, and also maybe on purpose does not quite know how to dress herself. She doesn't wear any like nice new clothes too much, nothing like trendy. She cuts her hair with like craft scissors or whatever. It's described as being very choppy and kind of uneven. Um and and she's described as pretty, yes, but also, you know, very much like not wearing any makeup, not really doing anything to style herself anyway. Um so that's kind of where I mean, we'll get into the reasons why subtextually in a bit, but that's how we're introduced to her. Well, Leo is like this little impish brown boy that we all love. Jason is a blonde, blue-eyed Adonis, I don't know. A jock type, as we said. So but
Basically, but yeah.
you pretty much immediately think of the consequences of this. Like that was at least the first thing that was on my mind of the whole like amnesia thing, which is that you know, like spoiler alert, yes, this is in fact actually the first time they met, and Leo and Piper have just been tricked, fooled, bamboozled. And the consequences of having having two main characters with completely fabricated relationships to the protagonist is intriguing, is has a lot of potential, certainly. And okay,
Yeah.
the book kind of allows for that, but like
I do
mostly not.
like Yeah, I do like Leo's addition about this later. I think this is before that it's revealed, like, oh, this is actually their first time meeting. I do recall Leo saying something along the lines of, "Oh, if you forgot who I am, that just means I get to reintroduce myself all over again." In a way, kind of being a little cheerful about it. But as we know in hindsight, that was more him just, "Come on, please stay my friend, please stay my friend, I need this."
Leo's like split in between wanting to blank slate it and like desperately clinging on to the hope that he will still be his friend. And Piper is very is kind of in between, like, well, she's kind of flip flopping a bit between being like, oh, I need to keep distance from him because our relationship was fake actually, and just hardcore flirting with him constantly, or trying not to flirt with him, or this or that. It's again, this book has so much going on, it kind of fades to the background after a while, this whole dynamic of it, and quickly just kind of settles into like they're friends basically.
Yeah. As soon as they went on the quest, basically that felt like it kind of dropped, because then it was like,
Yeah.
all right, we're kind of united now. We're doing the thing.
Yeah. And Jason even seems to have a sort of unearned loyalty to them, I guess, wanting to take them both on the quest.
Yeah,
He's given it's kind of interesting.
he had valid. Yeah, he had valid reason. You know what? Maybe we should go through some of the chapter beats first before we speak more on this.
Yeah. Also, the main thing with chapter 1, Jason has a suspiciously Roman-looking coin. To move forward, you know, to continue on. You know, Jason sure does know a lot of Latin names for all these monsters and creatures. I wrote down a few of them. So you have Faun rather than
Yeah,
Caesar, Ventus
and
rather than
Leo's just a little.
Tuelai.
Yeah, and Leo's also a little freak. He knows all the Roman stuff too. He was calling Vulcan, well, Hephaestus Vulcan for a while there.
A bit, but I think that's just because he reads a little bit. I don't think I think Jason's calling these obscure creatures out by name pretty easily. Also Jason's sword being incredibly cool, being a coin that when you flip it turns into a sword. Very nice, very based.
Heads its sword, tails its spear.
We love it. It's hardly ever a spear, let's be honest.
It's still cool that it has the option.
It does. I forget that it's a spear all the time, though. You said that, and I was like, oh yeah, that happens once. But yeah, and also just kids of the big three being very OP because Jason can fucking fly. And there's a whole big fight. Turns out Coach Head is a satyr. Unsurprising. His name's Coach Hedge. And I think you and I were both very quickly like, so he's being played by Danny DeVito, yes.
Yes.
He's being played by Danny DeVito.
Yeah. Love this satyr. He's basically the exact opposite of Grover.
He is. I mean, like, yeah,
Grover was a youngin' just barely starting off his adventure. This satyr was, well, basically trying to be pushed into retirement.
I mean, he still has a lot of the same ideals. Not the exact opposite of Grover. He's just also on top of that an old curmudgeon.
Yeah.
But
plus, he also has a far more aggressive personality.
He does.
Love him.
So they have the big fight.
Oh yeah, he's also kidnapped.
He's also kidnapped. They have a big fight with the Animal Thueli, and who comes in to rescue but Annabeth and who was the guy, the big guy who was like a son of Iris, that guy. Some guy.
Yeah.
Some guy.
A guy
he was a
whose
character.
name I didn't write down.
He was a character. I didn't write down his name. He was there. His design
he was a character for like. He was there for like 2 chapters. I don't know. Dylan. I remember you, Dylan, of course.
I just remember him being a big guy with a shaved head and a rainbow tattoo. And him immediately intimidating the shit out of Leo just by his sheer presence. But also Annabeth is very intimidating by her sheer presence. Annabeth shows up and she's immediately very scary to all of these people. We're back to like book 1 Annabeth before Percy got used to her. Where she's just incredibly intense, like very much like half twitching to challenge one of these losers to a fight. Very angry and accusatory towards everyone. And of course having good reason for it because Percy's missing and she's, a bit on edge for good reason.
Yeah, the funny thing is, she actually had gone up to Jason like, what the fuck am I supposed to do with you? I was told I was supposed to find a clue to my boyfriend here. What the fuck? And then Jason's just like, dude, what? Like, dude, like, I'm right here. Like, oh yeah, sorry, separate matters.
So she is not a fan at first, and she. I do love when we get to see some of these established characters from other POVs for once, because Percy is
affectionate.
Percy's like a low-key a bit of an unreliable narrator sometimes, and so just seeing him or Annabeth from other people's perspective is always so fun, because you realize, yeah, they're freaks. They're both absolute freaks. He's so used to her, and he's so like unfazed by how intense she is at this point, and he like. And we'll get to him too, and we'll see that, like, oh yeah, he's kind of this like incredible badass who though you get in his head and you realize that he has the exact like mental like running internal monologue is like Spider-Man. He's constantly panicking. And you're like, oh yes, this loser, love it. But this is a strong opening for this book, in my opinion. There's a lot of mystery, some onboarding there for people who are starting here, which is why I say, like, hey, it's an option to start here if you want. I just don't recommend it.
Yeah. Because if you hadn't read the rest of the Percy Jackson books, you're probably not going to be too invested in the, oh no, where's this girl who I'm meeting for the first time's boyfriend? Instead, you'd probably be a little more interested by, this is the POV character we started off with, and he seems to be amnesiac. Let's follow that. So, like, it doesn't exactly leave you expecting to have read the first books, even though it kind of does. It doesn't leave you high and dry.
They do reintroduce all of the stuff, like everything, pretty effectively, and kind of, but also go through it quickly enough that as a old reader, you're like, you don't feel like it drags. You don't feel like this is the part where they have to exposit about everything in order to catch up a certain part of the reader base. It's like, no, it's going like pretty quickly.
Plus, I think it also helps the fact that Jason kind of just accepts things, whereas Percy was a bit more, what the heck is going on?
For sure, for sure. And though that we of course know that that's because, Jason, of course he's taking this more in stride. This is not necessarily new to him, even if this specific camp is. And but yeah, considering how long this book is, the less you feel it drag, the better. And you certainly feel it drag sometimes, especially around the middle bits when I was trying to just keep to my schedule of just reading like a good 2 or 3 chapters a day, and was just absolutely starting to dread it and just getting bored and skimming through it. And I tried to stop myself from skimming. I mostly managed to not skim, but still. Also, we'll get into it, but Piper x Jason is not looked at as favorably as Piper x as Percy x Annabeth. I mean, or Piper x Annabeth. Let's be real. Let's be perfectly
I didn't even
real.
know that was a thing.
Yeah. But in general, people like Jason a lot less than Percy. Generally, they like Piper all right, though. For once, it's for once, it's not the brown girl being the problem here. I find that Piper's like just fine. But I think people just find Jason a bit boring, and the relationship aggressively heterosexual, very comp het, if you're familiar with that term. We'll see as we go along if that's true, or if it was just a case of people not liking change. But spoiler alert, it is a little true. It is very, very comp het.
It kind of felt obligatory.
Yeah. I mean, that's the definition of comp het. Do you know
Oh,
what
okay, I'm
comp
gonna
het
be
means,
honest.
or do you I told you to just tell me if you needed me to explain it.
I understood het, the comp I was assuming
Compulsory.
was compulsive.
Compulsory.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah. So yes, obligatory.
So yeah, agreed.
Just the idea. I mean, comp het was a phenomenon that was originally talked about by lesbians when they were coming out, saying that they oftentimes had these comp het phases where they would feel like obligated to date men, essentially, like before they like no. It's basically this idea that like heterosexuality is so ubiquitous that if you are a young queer person, you might, like, regardless of your own actual feelings, feel like you have to date someone of the opposite sex because that's just what's done. Yeah, that's the default. So you have lesbians having these het phases and then looking back and realizing like, oh, I was just doing that because I thought that was just the thing to do, basically. I didn't realize it was an option to do otherwise.
Yeah. I do appreciate your tangents, and I love going on tangents. However, we are about at 53 minutes.
I'm going to finish explaining this concept. So in terms of literature, this has to do with when you have a couple, like some people apply this to literature, when you have a couple who is heterosexual, who seems to be put together just because it is girl and boy, and you have to put girl and boy together. I know we're going, like, my chapter notes are not as long as usual. You will sit for this. If you have somewhere to be, tell me now.
I don't have anywhere to be. I was just going to say we're approaching an hour and we haven't gotten past chapter 5.
That's fine. Acceptable.
Alrighty, if you say it's fine, then it's okay by me.
Okay. Okay, so anyway, chapter 3, we meet the new head of Aphrodite Cabin, Drew, a shameless Regina George knockoff with no charisma. This is basically the proper introduction to
That's Aphrodite Cabin.
Yeah, to Aphrodite Cabin, as well as Piper's whole arc and her whole struggle here. In the beginning of Piper's kind of busted femininity arc, in which it mostly comes across as really judgmental towards femininity. And yeah, we're getting angst about the hallucination boyfriend. She's basically starting from zero with Jason, but with all sorts of imprinted leftover feelings. A part of me wonders, and I have seen some fans incorporate this into fics, how much of her affection for him comes from herself. Like, wouldn't it be fucked up if all these feelings are just imposed on her, actually? And let's be real, with how comp-het this relationship is, that might be the only interpretation that would make it all make sense. But at that point, I'm just writing fanfiction. And by that, I mean Annabeth X Piper fanfiction, the superior ship by far. Chapter 4, if you're good to go.
No, I'm perfectly good to go.
Okay, yeah, I mentioned this taking place a few months after Last Olympian. I think Annabeth says Like it's basically just the exact following summer. What? Who's messaging us on Discord? I can't look at it right this second.
Yeah, we could just ignore it for now. It's probably fine.
I can't. I get the notification. It's annoying. Okay. I should pause that for a bit. So I think Annabeth mentions that it's the summer after last Olympian. At first I thought that meant it was a year later, but no, it's just like a few months. like maybe as little as like 1 month potentially. So fun fact, all of Heroes of Olympus through Trials of Apollo take place within the course of 1 year. No, the timeline does not make sense. Yes, we will have to just get over it. People have pointed out that this timeline is busted. Like, they've been pointing it out forever. It's busted. It
also doesn't help by the fact that they use solstices to also measure things.
They do. But it's... these are all written in order. And it's... like, Chalice of the Gods. One of the more recent books. In that one, Percy turned 17. There's like 10 books between that. It's like 10 books. It's insane. Funny. It's insane. Like remember, he literally turned 16, the exact end of last Olympian. They're celebrating his birthday. So yeah, none of the timeline makes any sense. But it's fine, just get over it, I guess. I'll have to get over it. I will personally have to get over it. This will make even less sense when we like are mixing in the other books in order as we go forward. Like it'll just be a mess. We'll forget that it's only they'll just feel like frozen in time after a while, I promise. So, but yeah, the important thing is the Titanomachy has literally just happened. Annabeth and Percy are 16, the same age, give or take a few months, as the new protagonists. I think Jason's technically 15, but I think that's just like his birthday's later in the year or something. He's a fucking Pisces or whatever. I don't know. And
the other two are claimed by their godparents as well, that we already mentioned. Same with Jason goes on.
I was getting to Piper. We haven't gotten
to
Piper yet. But yeah, Piper gets a cursed blade called Mirror, wielded by Helen of Troy. I'm sure this will end well. And the gods have gone silent, apparently. This is where we find out that the gods are not speaking with their mortal children, and the implication being that they're basically on their own, except haha. Bet Jason gets help from Sky Daddy a few times. Rachel is a live-in oracle at this point, so, still there. Sure has adjusted well within the last couple months, but doesn't have a prophecy for them just yet. She just says, "Free me," in a spooky voice. I'm sure this is fine. So, chapter 5. So now we've gotten to chapter 5. Leo, this is a Leo chapter. Leo, realizing he's surrounded by a bunch of attractive demigods and nymphs, and is immediately like, "This is the best thing that's ever happened to me. Please don't let us be related. Please." Thought that was funny.
He's such a fail. I love him.
I did want to ask though, resident Mexican, is Leo's inherent horniness kind of racist? I feel like it might be, in the same way that it was kind of racist with Black Grover in the Lightning Thief movie no one talks about. But I wanted to know if that passes the sniff test.
Alright, so I will preface this because I don't like to pull my Mexican card very often, just because I personally consider myself to be whitewashed and don't exactly have as strong cultural ties with this. However, when it does come to this, I want to say it was fine, because I've seen horny Mexican done in a variety of ways before. This didn't quite feel like the same. Just because it didn't quite seem like a negative aspect of him where he is harassing people, slight asterisk with someone down the line, but it wasn't that bad, I would say.
It maybe helps that there's a deeper reason behind it as well. Like, this is like,
yeah.
It's
plus,
kind of
that's not his only. Oh god.
It's kind of an extension of a lot of his of his general coping mechanism that he has of being very outwardly outgoing in order to kind of paradoxically keep people at arm's length.
Yeah. Plus, I would like to say it's also not who he is.
There's a lot.
He has a
going
lot
on.
more going on.
There's
Yeah.
a lot going on in general. I have a couple Leo lines pulled, by the way, or a couple Leo stuff. One, he was like talking with his cabin members. One of them says like, "You believe in curses, Leo?" And then just I put like in asterisk, Leo remembering the horrors. Ghosts? Pff, nah, I'm cool. Just, and then also there's this one where it's like he could almost imagine a dead counselor sitting there, another ghost who wasn't going to leave Leo alone. when he was looking at Beckendorf's bed, and it's like, oh, he's not okay. Oh my god, he's not okay. He's so traumatized. They also at this point casually drop how he's been on the roam from that how he'd been on the run from a foster home when they caught him and sent him over to the correctional facility, and yeah, it's just so angsty. And I realized that too, that like, oh, this is kind of why I found Kane Chronicles to be a bit like sanitized by comparison. I was like, I really needed this like scrappiness. I really needed this like feeling of like of kids against the world, I guess.
I know, right? We completely missed our dose of children feeling abandoned by the systems that be in place.
Children in danger. Let's go. Let's get this video
We
flagged.
live in a society.
But yeah, Tia Kaida, aka Hera, haunting him like a literal ghost. He is so fine. He is so fine. He is incredibly fine. So chapter 6, you have cabin 9, Hephaestus cabin, has seemingly been cursed. First Beckendorf, I'm gonna put the fucking Discord on mute. What the fuck? Shut up. Shut up.
What server is this even that's bugging you? I don't see anything
Probably
popping up in the
ours.
servers.
Probably ours. Who the fuck is who's messaging me?
Oh, JFeds is saying they went live an hour ago to Frog, who sent that first message 7 minutes ago.
I literally Frog, what the fuck? Mute. Stay quiet.
Oh, I was looking
Stop
at the D&D server
me.
at first.
Stop on hey JBet. I'm glad you cleared that up with Frog. It's hilarious. Okay. Anyway, we're only on like chapter 6 at this point, so you're good. Cabin 9, Hephaestus cabin, has been cursed, and we've kind of, it's just pretty fucking bad. First you have Beckendorf, who died. All the machines keep going haywire, and the current cabin head is now in a full body cast. And so,
this is fine.
Yeah,
and also there's a casual dog on the loose.
Oh yeah. By that of course you mean a big metal fire breathing dragon. His name is Festus.
Yeah,
exactly.
We love him. He's a good boy.
He's a very good boy. But the whole Hephaestus cabin is interesting, honestly. The whole atmosphere is like surprisingly tense. It also doesn't help that Leo kind of sticks out like a sore thumb, being the only Hephaestus kid with a sense of humor. But also something tells me that he's plenty used to being the weird kid. Something tells me he's very used to this.
It's almost as if within chapter 6, here's a direct quote. Humor was a good way to hide the pain.
Oh my god. They say that directly? I forgot. I didn't write that down.
Yes! Hold on, let me see if I can pull up the exact page number I got. Because I just have it in quotes under my chapter 6 note.
And by hilarious, I mean so sad. This is our sweet baby boy.
Oh, I love him. I'm so glad he's so traumatized.
Oh yeah, also we find out that the last Hephaestus kid, so like Leo can control fire, right? He has the gift of controlling fire. We found out the last Hephaestus kid who could do this literally started the London Fire of 1666. It's a very bad omen, is what they're saying. An incredibly bad omen. This is also where you find out that he directly blames himself for his mom's death, by the way. And in all fairness, she did die in a mysterious fire, and he's the fire guy, but we do eventually find out that it was probably Gaia.
A little more complicated, yeah. By the way, page 82. He was the class clown, the court jester, because he'd learned early that if you crack jokes and pretended you weren't scared, you usually didn't get beat up. Even the baddest gangster kids would tolerate you, keep you around for laughs. Plus, humor was a good way to hide the pain.
God damn it. Oh my.
Oh, this poor broken kid. I love it.
This is what we this is what we need. This is what we crave. Leo, my beloved. See, I do like
Wet
this book.
dog.
See, I do like this book. Okay, chapter 7. Chiron is kind of like reading the room very well, actually. He's seeing all the bad omens stacked on top of each other and is a bit freaked out at this point. He definitely knows what's going on with Jason in particular. I think the literal line he says is, you should be dead. The bad omens all around.
Yeah, this camp has had some pretty fucking low morale. It hasn't been this low since the camp went to war.
So also, this is Jason's turn to be visited by the horrors. I mean, Hera. And we get a clearer picture. We get some backstory. So we find out that his father, Zeus/Jupiter, sacrificed him to her to appease her. And yes, they have to free her. And also, yes, she's still a huge bitch. Hera's not earning any points in this one. This is not the sympathize. This is not the Redeem Hera book.
Weirdly enough, I felt like Zeus got more sympathy than Hera did.
He did, but also in that he had no speaking lines and didn't appear, and mostly was just there to. From what I understand, from what I hear, any goodwill that Zeus might have earned here, taken away again by the time you get to Trials of Apollo.
Trials of Apollo. It always comes back to Trials of Apollo.
Always comes back. I can't fucking wait for that. Anyway. Chapter 8, we were talking about like seeing the different cabins and being able to getting a more colorful full world, and this is one good example of this. We see the Hypnos cabin because Annabeth thinks that maybe being able to get like that maybe dreams might be the way that that Jason unlocks his amnesia. And so then we meet some of the Hypnos kids. The head of the all the Hypnos kids are just like incredibly EP. Just getting in some serious Z's, maximum coziness. I wish to be there always. Just all these EP guys in their cozy cabin.
God, I wish I was a child of Hypnos. Just imagine how good of sleep you would get.
Oh, that'd be great. And we get this line as well, as to develop this story a bit more, and also Apollo's gonna come up in this too. Also, is this my last Apollo mention in these notes?
No, absolutely not.
I can't promise that. Okay, the line was, in Rome, they became more warlike. They didn't mingle with mortals as much. This is in reference to... So this is how we get some lore here, that the Greek and Roman personalities of the gods are very different. That they actually have two distinct aspects that can be quite dramatically different in personality and looks. And how it kind of, I guess, goes hand in hand with how they have, like, American aspects as well, but this seems to be almost a deeper division, and there seems to be some unspecified issues going on with this. But this is how we start to understand that there are Greek demigods and there are Roman demigods, depending on what form your parent was in and how. Well, I know you can see our shirts here. They have the different camp as well. But I have a couple funny notes about this. One is that tell the whole line about how them becoming more warlike and they didn't mingle with mortals as much. Tell that to Apollo, who is basically doing hot girl summer and jumping from problematic situationship to somehow even worse situationship over and over again.
Gotta love our favorite girl fail.
And also, I know you're a Rome guy, but I'm wondering about some of the undertones here. Like, we won't get fully into it until we see some Roman demigods, which probably won't be until the next book. But am I wrong in calling out some fascist undertones here, some of which being, pretty historically accurate? This is Rome we're talking about. My main concern is always that will they be addressed, but we will have to wait and see. But
yeah, oftentimes when people look to Rome, they often glorify the power they had. But something I often look at is the story of the brothers Gracchus and how a republic had died.
Yeah, was an empire. It was an empire. That really cannot be overstated how much it was an empire and how much evil shit they did, and how this is certainly reflecting some kind of reality. And it is interesting how there seems to be a split between Jason and the other Greek demigods here. Jason being, like, kind of biased towards them. They talk about how Rome is much more disciplined and warlike, and he says, well, that doesn't sound all bad. Isn't discipline, like, good? And that's interesting, I think. And again, it depends on how hard they'll go on it in the future. In this book, Jason remains to be, protagonist man, good guy who does not have too many controversial takes or ideas. But I could certainly see potentially here either this going very wrong or very right, depending on, how willing Reardon is to actually interrogate all of this going forward.
Mm-hmm. I don't have enough information to make that good guess, so all I could do is fingers crossed and wait for 2 more books.
Fingers crossed. Let's see if he doesn't fuck it up. Let's see. Chapter 9. So yeah, Piper's frumpiness by choice is framed as being more about staying under the radar, being a bit embarrassed at being the daughter of a celebrity, and the nature of celebrity, and by this, of course, eventually also as a daughter of Aphrodite, who is all about beauty and love, and how she seems to be kind of ashamed of that to some extent. Some for good reasons, some for not. We get to understand a lot of relationship with her father here. At least we begin to, anyway. And it's interesting how, as an adult, I can kind of empathize with like both ends here. Her dad has issues, cares, but is emotionally a bit disconnected. I read about him, and he strikes me as a man that's checked out just a bit. Plus, while he tries to make time for his daughter, he's clearly a very busy person. Piper needs emotional support, and it's not enough, but you can understand that he's generally trying his best. An interesting bit of nuance where you can both understand why they love each other and understand why the other frustrates them. Probably the most nuanced relationship we've had in these books thus far. Which I think I completely glossed over, that Piper, the reason why she was at the correctional facility was because she was acting out. She was... she had a bit of
allegedly stole a car.
Yeah, she had a bit of a kleptomaniac streak, and not just allegedly, she like confesses to stealing the car essentially by using charm speak and just talking to the guy and giving it to her. And then when she left and you realize what he had done, she gets in big trouble.
Hey, technically, if it was caught on camera that he had just given it to her, there is a good legal defense there.
There is, but she know what she did. That's the important thing. She knows what she did.
She absolutely does.
So even if how it ends leaves me feeling a bit off from an adult's perspective, I think that there's a lot that's interesting here. I will not give a judgment as harsh as saying that the way that their relationship is portrayed is either like amazing or terrible. It has its shades of gray. It has its low spots. It has its high spots. What I think it is very interesting to discuss. So I'm going to discuss it at length.
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
Yeah. Also, her and Annabeth being friends immediately, and Annabeth wanting to look out for her is very cute. Once again, I will continue to spread Piper x Annabeth propaganda. I will do that forever. But yeah, Rachel says Annabeth is hoping that Piper is in the Athena cabin secretly, and I like that. That's cute. That's very cute. Let's go Yuri. Let's go Yuri. I love Yuri. So chapter 10, we have some prophecies.
7 half-blood shall join the... Oh wait, crap, I messed that up already. 7 half-blood shall answer the call. And then Jason actually finishes the rest of it in Latin. To storm or fire, the world must fall, and not to keep with the final breath, and foes bear arms to the doors of death.
Surprised he didn't try saying it in Latin.
You think I'm gonna try learning Latin?
Also, we find out the giant has Piper's dad. The giant has Piper's dad. He's been kidnapped. Not yay.
And then there's also part 2 to the prophecy. Child of lightning, beware the earth. The giant's revenge, the 7 shall birth. The forge and dove shall break the cage, and death unleashed through Hera's rage.
So, intense things are starting to happen. Also, I made the joke in the summary about there being a spy among them. Don't make the joke. I know you want to make the joke. Don't make the joke. Hold it in. But this raises the amount of potential spies to 2, since we have Piper, who has reason to betray him, and Jason, who doesn't even understand his loyalties yet since he lost his memories. And of course, with the giant here, if you know your Greek mythology, you should know that the Gigantomachy followed the Titanomachy directly, so it's pretty obvious where this is all going. War with the Giants, baby.
Woo, King of
This is
Giants.
also where Piper gets properly claimed by Aphrodite and even gets a godly blessing from her, which is basically like a makeover. She gets a whole new outfit, a blowout, makeup, etc.,
Yeah.
etc. It lasts a few days. And I think we get some cute stuff about Jason. I think I mentioned this earlier. Jason
I prefer you for you type stuff.
yeah, very, very like, well, she looks better when she's comfortable. Not that it looks bad, but like, she looks good, of course, but she looked good before too, and that's sweet. That's sweet. That's like the one thing that I can be like, okay, they got some going for them at least.
Yeah, but at the same time, you also have to keep in the back of one's mind of Jason is still dealing with his conflicted opinions of like, is this supposed to be my girlfriend?
Jason needs more development, I think, is really what we come to at the end, which is that like he's just so basic
Half-baked.
that it's like, okay, if he at least had a personality, we understood why she liked him, then that would be like something, right?
Because I'm not fully convinced that if not for the fake memories, that they would have interacted.
Me neither. Genuinely, me neither.
Yeah, I can believe Leo, I'll be honest, but that's because he seems like the type to take the initiative, well, to basically do what we already talked about. I
Leo would
need a
latch
new
on to
friend.
anyone
This
who
is
gave
a
him the
blank.
time of day.
Yes, just like I need a new friend,
We
and
love
this
that
is a
for him.
blank slate. He may or may not have
He's
some
okay.
attachment issues from
He's
what I've
okay.
noticed.
He's okay. He certainly doesn't have. He certainly doesn't have maladaptive attachment issues. No. Kind of reminds me of that one meme I showed you where it's like, you're the type of man people write books about, and then it's the DSM. It's the DSM-5. Oh gosh. Okay. We get another Leo chapter here where we talk about where we see a bit how Hera was a really great babysitter. Throwing him in the fire, putting him in with some rattlesnakes.
Hey kid, you want to play with knives?
Okay, the funny thing, I'm not sure about the third, but I know for a fact the first two are mythological references. So the first one is a reference to Demeter, actually. So she put the demigod Demophoon into a fire to burn away his immortality, to burn away his mortality to make him a god. And the second one is a reference to Heracles, either one, where when he was young, he killed a rattlesnake that was also sent by Hera. To kill him as a baby. Yeah, the knife thing I'm not sure, but the other two, I was able to clock pretty much immediately. Listen, goddesses are really bad with kids, except for Artemis for some reason, who doesn't have kids.
Artemis is only good with kids because she adopts them when they're teens.
The other two have children, are really bad with them, or just maybe want to kill them like way too eagerly.
I don't know, Athena wasn't entirely bad. She had the decency to drop Annabeth off on the doorstep.
Athena is like a good old like doing the bare minimum as far as being a decent parent in this series.
The bar is on the floor. Okay.
Bar's on the floor.
Exactly. Like I said, the only defense I had for her was she had the decency to go up to the doorstep and say, "Hey, this is yours," before leaving.
Exactly. Okay. We got chapter 12 here. This is where we meet Festus.
It's the boy.
It's the boy. It's the guy on the cover. It's the big bronze dragon on the cover. So I think a bit of backstory. Beckendorf made Festus after Beckendorf dies. Festus starts going haywire and goes off into the forest. The Festus kids want to just put him down like old Yeller. Leo is convinced that he can fix him and manages it. And
the
so
first
Leo
time that those words have been uttered and it worked.
Yes. Leo rides him back into camp and it kicks ass. And they basically leave for their journey on the spot.
Oh, and one slight thing. Remember how we said the last time there was a fire Vulcan kid, bad things happened? Leo is decidedly not telling anyone about his fire powers.
Oh, you decided to keep that shit deep inside.
This totally isn't eating away at him.
This is fine. He's definitely not having a moral crisis over this. Or a personal
not thinking
crisis
of himself
or an emotional
less.
crisis. How could he think of himself less? His
Yeah.
the opinion was already rock bottom.
Oh yeah, you remember that one line from the prophecy to storm or fire, the world must burn? Yeah, Leo took that as well as you would think.
Oh, he took that personally, as he does everything. He just like me for real, for real. Okay. Chapter 13. I wrote this down out of context. Someone called Jason like a young alpha male or something, and I just thought that was funny. I was like, I'll make a note of that for my fan fiction. Very important that we now canonically know that Jason is an alpha.
That sucker punched me.
But I'm going to bring it exactly the other direction too, because they talk a lot about the Roman nature of conquer or die, an ideal that Jason seems to have absorbed authentically, and something that is, you know, causing me a great discomfort, maybe in a good way, but again, we have to see until we get a little further.
Oh yeah, spoiler as well. I think this was something that was said. Lupa sometimes just abandons kids instead of takes them to Camp Jupiter, thinking that they're too weak. Yeah.
Oh yeah. That's the rite of passage with Camp Jupiter. You're a baby, you get dropped onto a wolf goddess's doorstep, and yeah, either she takes you in or she eats you. They don't say that she eats you, but I assume.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like again, literally for me, the bare minimum of just making all of this make sense is if they could just definitively say at the end, by the time we get around to like Blood of Olympus, that like, hey, that the whole like conquer or die thing, kind of cringe,
kind of fucked, bro.
If they can just say that, bare minimum achieved, I'll be like, okay, this is all fine, actually.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, chapter 14. This is I think where we properly know that Jason is Thalia's brother. They try and sell it as like unexpected, because they also say that like, oh, it's actually really rare for a god to sire two children with the same mortal, and yeah, that seems to be incredibly rare unless you have like identical twins the same way you have Travis and
the Stoll brothers. Yeah.
But like as a reader, it was a little obvious. Yeah, like it was a bit obvious. You were like, okay, yeah, you have another child of Zeus running around who's like around this age, and you're like, yeah, it's probably. It just feels like one of those story things that you're like, it just seems like the natural conclusion.
Yeah. Something we should probably mention for no reason in particular. Jason has SPQR and an Imperial Eagle tattooed on him.
Oh yeah, that's fine. That's not. We certainly haven't just already spoiled the shit out of that.
Oh yeah, of course.
But this also implies something about Zeus. They could be. I will have to put a pin in it for later, because they never address it within this. But this could potentially be kind of dangerous. This idea that he didn't just have a one-off affair with a mortal, but had basically a second mortal family, 2 kids around 7+ years apart in age. We find out a little bit more about the family. It seems like it wasn't quite the case. We basically find out that Jason and Thalia's mom is like, we kind of knew she was already kind of messed up, and that it's heavily implied that she like died in a drunk driving accident and was not a very good mother. But like it's also basically outright stated that she was basically just hungry for Zeus's attention, became kind of obsessed with the idea that she managed to have a god fall for her, and like essentially ruined her children's life in an effort to like just hold his attention for as long as possible. And so it didn't quite seem like he had a second family so much as it seemed like he had a very obsessive lover.
I think that's actually quite the apt way to put that one.
Mm-hmm. But still, interesting implications, and They might do something else with it in the future. So I wanted to draw attention to it, put a pin in it. So chapter 15. Also, there's 56 goddamn chapters. Some of these I'm going to go through quickly, but for the beginning bits, I'll have quite a lot to say. This is where they get into the Aphrodite cabin a little bit more. We see the charm speak ability in action and get more of Mean Girl Drew, an archetype that is hardly ever done well, if I'm being perfectly honest. And spoiler alert, it's not done all that well here either. I think
My note
mostly,
here just says, fuck the Aphrodite cabin, it's super clicky and snobby.
So think about that. Is that I think most attempts to write like a mean girl like Drew, or like writing like the whole like girly clicky snobby thing, is that it usually just comes across as really shallow. Like,
Yeah.
it's written by someone who's not a woman and who just saw Mean Girls once and who's kind of just like winging it off of that. Who's going off of like this imagined idea of what female bullying is like. That an imagined idea that tends to be quite misogynistic in its own way, and manages to like kind of blame femininity for the problems rather than blaming, bullying. Like, you see Piper's Not Like Other Girls shtick, and I've already talked about how that is its own kind of misogyny. And it would have been okay if the end goal was to actually deal with all this, but the best we ever get is Piper gaining a bit of self-confidence by the end, which, good, it's just not quite enough, it sounds like these where I find myself glad that the Barbie movie managed to really, like, patch things over for everyone, make the final discourse of it very clear that, ended the conversation on femininity not being in conflict with feminism. Because I do not miss this Not Like Other Girls era where a large amount of people, even me at some point, believed that separating yourself from femininity was the best way to be a real woman, because that does really seem to be an aspect of what this plot is pushing, and I don't appreciate it, honestly. Like, I think it has good intentions. I think it does some things right, but there is an undertone to it that I think is... It's giving systemic misogyny. It's giving Not Like Other Girls. It's just... I'm glad we moved past this as a people, certainly.
Yeah, plus that type of thinking is what gives birth to pick-me's.
Yeah, the pick-me's are barely a step away from that at that point.
Mm.
Okay. So we got chapter 16. By now it should probably be acknowledged, because I think this was one where I had like almost no notes to put down. And it was because it was such a short chapter. Like a lot of these two chapters, these little 2-chapter groupings oftentimes have the same content as just one chapter. And it really shows when it's like you go through something and it's like, oh, this is like 2 pages long, or like almost nothing happens in it, or it's really just wrapping up what happened in the last chapter. Like, structurally it would have just been better to make them just one big chapter, but they're so married to this format of two, each with a switching POV, that this is one of the more obvious ways in which really starts to get in the way of itself, where like just the actual page pacing of it is oftentimes really off. Somehow this was structured worse than Red Pyramid, in my opinion. Like they've exacerbated the issue.
Yeah, because I think like some of these chapters were like 2 pages.
Yeah, for sure. And some of these chapters are pointless completely. But anyway, chapter 17, actual chapter notes.
Yeah. We should probably talk about the quest they went on.
Yeah. First, Killbot. Okay. So, so the quest they're going on. Basically, the whole goal of the quest is to free Hera. Yes, they have to go on.
Yes.
They have to go on Festus. They have to go find Hera wherever she is. I think they first go north.
Yes.
Because
the plan.
Yeah. The idea is
the plan is to go to. You know what? You speak. Yeah.
One of us has to speak. The plan's to go through Aeolus, right? And so first they go north to Boreas, who is like supposedly the nicer of the winds, to see if they can get an audience with him, appease him, hopefully by delivering back some of the animal thueli. Did I get that right?
The wind spirits.
Yeah. They want to appease him by delivering that. That supposedly worked in some myth somewhere. I do not remember which. And so they got to go to Canada. They got to go to fucking French Quebec. And so they're heading north. But also, of course, Piper also has her whole secret thing of like, well, I gotta also rescue my dad, and in order to rescue him, I gotta sabotage this mission and all that. All that therefore. I made no notes of that, honestly. Do you have anything for chapter 17 before I go off?
Nope.
Okay. This note that I have here, by the way, is just every time Leo says or thinks anything, I'm wondering if he's okay. He's shot on sleep, traumatized, and trembling like a chihuahua. How did Tumblr not instantly fall in love with this boy? I'm asking. I'm asking you.
Just heck if I know. It's not like else the fandom trenches here.
Okay, so to clarify, Percy and Nico are both really popular in the fandom. They are very much Tumblr's favorite princesses. And they both get so much hype, and I get why. But Leo should be doing numbers too. He's great. This is my reach. This is my outreach to say, please give Leo some attention. Like he's just the right type of sad. Like being, you know, like I said, being the sunshine child who's also very deeply depressed but doesn't want to show that he's depressed. I think it's a favorite amongst people who's read Heroes of Olympus, just based off of me dabbling in the tag mines again of AO3.
Of course.
But, you know, again, I think a lot of the reason why he's maybe not doing numbers is because a good amount of people fell off around this point. And I think that's really just that's a big part of it. There is definitely this conception that these books aren't as good as the other Percy Jackson books, and well, we have our problems with this one, but I still think this was I still think Leo should have done numbers. Leo should have absolutely done numbers.
Yeah. Though, going back to some of Leo, I was of two minds. I was facepalm, damn it, Leo, but at the same time, I was also like, you know what, fair, bro.
Those are the two reactions whenever Leo does anything. Either you say "God damn it, Leo," or you say "mood." Sometimes you say
perfect
both.
character.
Sometimes you say both at the same time. We're like one after the other.
Yeah.
There was like a specific moment.
He's such a fun character
that I outlined. I'll wait until we get there to say it, but like, that was my feeling there. But. So, chapter 18, by now I think you start to get a good grasp on, you know, you've had 3 different rotations, so you start to get a good grasp on the differences of POV, and how kind of each read, you know, we see Jason, who is maybe a bit flat, but you get like good detailed descriptions of things. He tends to really push the plot forward really heavily. Some good fight scenes with him. Piper, you get a good amount of her internality. I think she's like the easiest character to get a good grasp on really quickly. And she has a lot of interesting history to her, certainly. You know, she's my little underdog fave for sure. But Leo, you know, comes across as frantic. His POV has a lot of personality, and the boost of the pacing, as well as how he gets closest to what you like about Percy Jackson's POV, makes him like incredibly, just immediately likable for sure. Mm-hmm. I really did have to highlight that too. I think one second I realized that I was like, oh, that's why I love him. It's like, yeah, his POV is the closest we get to the style of writing we got in the main books. Where Jason, on the other hand, comes across as so fucking dry sometimes. And Piper's great, but she's also sometimes deeply depressing to read from.
It just adds a little more flavor to it.
Mm-hmm. Leo manages to be fun and depressing at the same time.
He definitely hits a very great balance.
Chapter 19, I have nothing to say. It's literally just 4 pages. In chapter 20, my 2 notes here is I found myself baffled that Aphrodite kids just speak French, like naturally.
Oh, but it is the language of love.
That was that like took me off guard. This Piper being able to speak French out of nowhere. I was just like,
Mon,
truly a fate worse than death.
mon parle français.
Oh gosh. Honestly, the next note was just, next stop, Aeolus in Chicago, baby, the Windy City. And then I put like an epic note, just being like, "This is the home of the Wind God." Yeah, it was Piper's POV. In retrospect, things happened. I feel like at the time when I was reading, I was like, "Oh, whatever." Like we meet Keone, Boreas's kids are interesting.
Aquilon.
Yeah. It's like Keone in retrospect will be a relatively important character, but I'm going to be honest, even knowing the final reveal, I feel nothing for her and I don't care.
Yeah, the only things I can say is, damn it, Leo, why did you choose this one to crush on?
Yeah. Leo immediately thirsts for Keone, the ice
It was
princess.
kind of funny, actually.
Yeah. It was very funny.
I kind of wanted to do it again because it would be funny.
By the time you get around to chapter 21, every character is either potentially an enemy, hiding a great dark secret, or both. They are all being put through the emotional ringer, basically. And I do love that. So, chapter 22. Didn't occur to me until now, but this book does feel more earnestly young adult than Red Pyramid in content and themes. The work is maturing a little, at least by this point. And this is really because of how coming of age all the themes are. Like, aggressively, very straightforwardly, so all the themes are coming of age. Capital C, capital A, coming of age. The main theme is watching these three kids figure themselves out, gain self-confidence, and find friends. And, like, it's a bit cliche, but I think it works.
It works.
I think it works, but honestly, I will as I go later on, I kind of go back and forth on whether like this book is a step forward in Riordan's writing or whether it is proof of stagnation. At this point, I guess I was feeling it was a step forward. I will later again also argue for kind of stagnation. I don't know. You don't come to these for coherent takes, whatever.
Isn't that exactly the point of this?
Yeah. These are just all my notes. These are just all my impressionistic thoughts. Me trying to come up with good analysis, but I would have to sit down and really think a little longer before I really picked one or the other. And even then, I suspect that I would have to say a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. Certain things he is moving forward on. Certain things there's a lot of stagnation in it, and there was like one in particular we were even talking about before stream that I think we will both lean in on very heavily. We'll get there when we get there. Of a old unfortunate trick that gets revisited here. Chapter 23, my singular note is I just want to mom the shit out of Leo.
Oh yeah, that's right. Not gonna get into too much. Basically, they were at an abandoned auto shop fighting some, what was it, Cyclops, I think, I don't know. But because Leo was reminded of his so much because she used to work at an auto shop, the sweet angst. This poor child.
Which, by the time we get around to chapter 24, and he reveals some of his firepower to his friends and is kind of a badass. Plus, he has that cool tool belt where he can just like pull out any, any object.
Courtesy of Bunker 9, where Festus led him.
After all that, and after the gang start to are licking their wounds, we find out that monsters reform way faster than ever. So one thing we kind of glossed over was that alongside all the other chaos, the doors to death, Tartarus has been has been
left open.
Yeah. Someone left the doors unlocked. And now pretty much anyone and everyone can go in and out as they please. So we're having a lot of old mythological figures that absolutely should be dead, roaming around and causing chaos, as well as monsters reforming in literal minutes because they can't stay down for very long. That's very not good for our heroes. It constitutes in a sharp increase in danger. It also results in some interesting writing implications. because it means reusing the monsters will be way, way easier from here on out.
And also using recognizable characters from mythology.
Mm-hmm. Can pull from more than just monsters at this point. Like, eventually we get Midas and Litzeres.
Oh, is that how you say it? I've always said Midas.
Midas? I might have it wrong.
It's probably Midas because I'm definitely saying more, well, presumably more of an American style.
Maybe it's. I mean, I know the tire shop's called Midas.
Until then, let's just say
Whatever.
Midas.
Whatever.
Yeah.
We had to figure out how to pronounce Gaia. We had to figure out how to pronounce. Wait, no. Did I also get how? Is that actually?
Wasn't it Gaia?
No. I did tell you Gaia, didn't I? I did tell you Gaia.
Yeah.
Gaia is what I said. Gaia. It's like everyone disagrees on the pronunciation. I think Gaia is closest to the actual Greek. Could be wrong. That was just based off of how I saw the spelling and comparing it to some other similarly spelled words. But yeah, Gaia.
Funny enough, I was actually reading it as Gaia.
Gaia. Yeah, Gaia, and that's like in line with I don't know. I think of like Gaia Online. I've heard people pronounce that like pretty consistently Gaia Online, so I guess it's just in my brain. And then I of course mispronounced it the second I wanted to bring it up. She's important anyway. Chapter 25, my one note, Jason, you truly are the guy of all time. I think this is just me once again lamenting with this POV, being like, oh, he's so basic.
Yeah.
Oh, he's so basic. So, chapter 26. I have an actual long note, a little paragraph chunk to say. So it's interesting that this book, more geared towards teens, has so much to say about the weight of expectations and things to come. Again, this is the most coming of age I've seen these books since The Lightning Thief, but while that was more about learning about the world and how it's both a scarier and better place than you first thought, this is specifically about finding your place in it. It seems away from abusive influences and coping with the anxieties of young adulthood. How you are too young but forced to make decisions that will affect your whole life, basically, which is, I guess could easily be compared to how, these 16, 17-year-olds are expected to pick what college they're going to and what major they're doing, and how that's a lot of pressure, and how you shouldn't feel bad if you decide to change your mind. You should not have to have it figured out, but sometimes you have to have it figured out to some extent. And that's unfortunate, but this is I think I could see this as being like potentially a good metaphor to help a person at the right age to kind of cope with that anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
And it's there that I can see that, like, okay, they're kind of reaching out towards a different audience than they were before. Again,
let's see if they keep up the pace.
There are some ways in which they're progressing, in which they're actually evolving.
Mm-hmm.
So, chapter 27. Piper has basically by this point resolved that she will, like, I think this is when they come across oh my god, what's her name, the witch lady,
the princess of Colthus.
Medea.
Mm-hmm.
They come across her. She's the who was she married to? Was it was it also Jason? It was also Jason.
I think yeah.
Jason the Argonauts. Of Jason and the Argonauts. She was married to him, and then I think she like killed his other. Milk. Yeah. He left, went to his other wife and child that he loved more, and she killed them, and she's considered like one of the most evil witches in Greek mythology, essentially. And she traps them in a mall, puts them under some intense mind control. It's really interesting the way it's framed too, because you start off from the boys' POV, where like something's wrong, but they seem so chill about it, you're not too worried until you switch to Piper's POV, and she's like, "Yo, what the fuck? Why are these guys acting like this? What's going on? Why are they just cool with this? This is so weird. We're definitely walking into a trap." Yeah, and it's so jarring. It's like it's so jarring. It's quite interesting, honestly. Jarring, affectionate.
Yeah.
But Medea offers her a potion that might be able to restore memories, as well as one that could erase memories. and I think she ends up actually being able to keep the one that erases memories, but she.
That one's a gift later down the line,
Oh, it is.
though.
That's a gift. Yeah, yeah. Okay, but either way though, Medea promises her a way to try and help. She refuses, not wanting to take a deal from her, which good girl boss moment for sure. Definitely would have been a trap. They at this point get back Coach Hedge also. He was trapped over there for some reason with
Yeah.
her. And I'm still actually not quite clear on why he was there specifically, but
Something trophies, I don't know.
yeah, she had some trophies of some Anemoy Thuelai, and they put some in a bag. They get a wind bag. They got to
Yeah.
bring the wind
Oh,
bag to Aeolus. But yeah, so Piper decides basically at this point that she wants to get Jason's memories back, even if it means that he'll hate her due to whatever split the Romans and Greeks seem to have going on. But she is, of course, not going to be tricked by a witch to do so.
hmm Yeah, and real quick on the topic of Medea, apparently she has a very different recollection of things, be it true or be it not. But basically, in her mind, it was no, Jason had another kid, and then my kids were killed by an angry mob, so I killed his wife. Gonna be honest, I wasn't 100% sure if she was misremembering or if she was just right on that.
It's left up to interpretation. I could see both. I could see reasons for either being true. Of course of course, if she's telling the truth, that is potentially really interesting, has interesting implications as far as Jason's story goes, as far as who's actually the good guy, who is the bad guy in that scenario. And that seems to be in line with some of the things that Percy Jackson as a series does here and again.
Yeah.
But also she does just seem to be mustache twirlingly evil, so I don't know.
Yeah, because at the same time, I was kind of thinking like, all right, so I could definitely see that being a thing that happens, but she also clearly seems like she's a rather unreliable narrator at the moment.
It does kind of end the same way you feel at the end of the Percy Jackson TV series, where you get Medusa's whole spiel about how about how she was like toyed with by the gods, and how Poseidon and Athena screwed her over, like both of them. And it's like, okay, this is interesting, this has implications, but like
Mhm.
also you are mustache twirlingly evil. It's not really reframing the way you think about Medusa at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's given her more interesting things to say, but her character's still basically the same.
It's more, it has more it affects your perception of the other people in her story more than it does actually her at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Just because your first impression, aka how she treats sweet baby boy Percy Jackson, is going to be the most important one. But yeah, so chapter 28, the Medea counter is cool in general. I like Piper having her moment. I like the whole arc, the mountains of insecurities this dredges up. Just good shit in general. I think this was like, this middle part drags somewhat, but I do like how Piper and Leo both get their moments. I think it's interesting.
Yeah.
Even if I have less and less notes to put down here, because it's like, well, this is kind of just the middle bit. It was losing me a little bit just due to just how long I'd been reading this thing by this point.
Yeah. I do find it fun though that Leo got to talk with his dad.
He did. It's described as being staticky, like watching through a really old television. But
I can't believe he got to talk to Alistair.
it was great. Television, excuse you. Alistair would fucking never. That's blasphemy.
Didn't he call him through an old ham radio?
He didn't he? But it was described as being like through like a television show. There even shows like they like go to The Price is Right or something briefly. It's like described with a lot of visual static, and it turns to black and white at one point. They're mixing their metaphors there, but it's fine. I have this note here, which is that Leo's easy acceptance of his father is pretty sweet and unique, to be honest. And their whole dynamic is kind of like tragic in a bittersweet kind of way. Like his father sees him and is just like, "Oh, you look and act exactly like your mother." Oh, and of course, Leo has his own hang-ups with Hephaestus. He basically is able to understand Hephaestus pretty instantly. He's able to empathize with him pretty deeply, but is still
Mhm.
very much well,
Not a
you
full
weren't
relation.
there for me, so
It's just like, I can kind of understand some of your thought process. Maybe some of the things you had gone through. Why the fuck weren't you there for me? I ran away.
like it's not perfect. There is this aspect though where he hears about how his father has been watching out for him to some extent and is proud of him. Like he even mentions having been at his mother's funeral, how he really liked Leo's science fair project in the 6th grade or whatever. And that makes Leo feel a little bit better actually. Like he sees their similarities and realizes that Hephaestus did the best he could even if that wasn't enough. And yeah, also maybe he wasn't as alone as he thought. And yeah, not perfect because Hephaestus doesn't know how to people very well, but that almost brings them closer together, or at least brings Leo closer to understanding him, because Leo also cannot people very well.
Despite the fact that Hephaestus had said, "You remind me so much of your mother," you could definitely see the family resemblance.
Oh, for sure, for sure. They all. There's a lot of this that I can see reflected in how Piper has her relationship with their dad, where it's like, yeah, you kind of get the sense of like they're doing their best with the tools that they were given, and that is not enough. But you know, maybe some level of understanding can still happen. Kind of this whole like, hey, maybe have and again, I think sometimes this is a message where you really have to tread very carefully. This idea of like, hey kids, maybe you should have some empathy and understanding for your parents. Maybe you should, you know, just recognize when they are just doing their best with their limited tools, because your parents were once kids too, and they have their own issues. But I always find that idea can sometimes lead to some interesting interesting rabbit holes. Um, I like that idea. I do not like it when it goes as far as when it goes as far as how Piper and her dad's relationship starts to go in the end. And again, we'll get there when we get there. I think that one has some weird implications. Chapter 30, R.I.P. Festus.
He was a good dog.
R.I.P. Festus, the goodest metal boy. So Leo wakes up, and literally as he's waking up, Festus crashes hard, and he cannot be salvaged. The best they can do is retrieve his head.
I do find it a little sweet though that he remembered the words of Vulcan, where it's just like, everything that breaks comes to an end, but everything can be reused.
Mm-hmm. So he takes the head with him, and we are reminded of his little ship design he had as a kid, of a big flying ship with a metal dragon as the masthead. So we'll see. We'll see in book 2.
I wonder if he's gonna invent Greek fire.
Chapter 31. And okay, yeah, this is also where I was like, losing focus here. Coincidentally, right as we get to adjacent chapter, I'm just like, I'm losing focus here.
Losing
Lord.
focus until Danny DeVito.
Danny DeVito.
DeVito.
We're not even
You
there
definitely
yet.
made this
We're not
part
even there
tolerable.
yet. The next part's Midas, whatever.
Chapter 31 is where I say they freed him.
Danny DeVito. Oh yeah,
Danny DeVito.
Yeah. Also, yeah, Midas, which is my next Apollo note. Some people ship Apollo with lit year. I need to. If I can't see the name, if I can't see, I'm just gonna call him Lit. Everyone just calls him Lit anyway. Lit Yerses.
Yeah.
Everyone just calls him Lit. Some people ship Lit with Apollo.
Is it because he keeps going after problematic men?
Yeah.
Just a quick yeah.
Yeah.
No denial, just yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad you understand.
Of course.
Okay, chapter 33. This is where I realized that my internal Coach Hedge sounds like Danny DeVito. For some more serious discourse, seeing Piper talk about her dad seeming ashamed of being Cherokee, which it's described. So her dad's like a famous actor, right?
Yes.
And
Intentionally stays away from certain roles.
he intentionally stays away from Cherokee roles. He says that they're like too close to home, basically, and it seems to be that he's very disconnected from his own identity. And this is where I get into like the very racialized trauma that's implied with him. And you hear a lot about Piper's dad being ashamed of being Cherokee to some extent, and her also kind of inheriting some of that shame. And this is kind of where I found myself really, really wondering, especially with the Cherokee folktale being thrown in here. I really wanted to understand if like this is a well-written depiction of a Cherokee, of a Cherokee girl or a Cherokee man. Again, not just in that it's, we understand it to be empathetic and we understand it to be well-rounded. She's a well-rounded character. We all appreciate that. But does it pass the nuanced sniff test? Would someone read this and get the same problems that I did with Carter from Kane Chronicles? I couldn't personally tell you. I will say though that I don't know. I want to be more lenient here. But also I remember my own frustration with Carter. So, I'm just wondering, any Native American fans out there, any Cherokee fans specifically out there, if there are, I don't know, if this passes the sniff test, if this passes the if this passes muster, if it can, if it has nuance, or if I'm just naive for expecting that at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Now's probably a good time to mention, I actually know this one Cherokee VTuber, although she kind of went on indefinite hiatus. Apparently she said it's pronounced Cherokee.
Cherokee?
Yeah.
Okay. But, okay. Where are we? Okay.
We just got to 32 because we're talking about lit.
I'm at like 33.
Oh, lit fucking died then.
He'll get better.
Yeah,
like I said,
it's fine.
Doors of death are wide open. He'll be back in no time.
Oh, actually, there's one thing I want to bring up about Lit. Lit's just like, I've beaten every Greek, and then Jason's just like, oh yeah, well, the Romans beat the Greek, and I was Roman trained. Okay, that's kind of silly, but funny.
I like Jason when he's pretty silly.
Yeah, it's just a little bit of silliness with like, okay, I kind of like it.
He's such a like. And I wish this was emphasized more. I feel like in my brain, the ideal Jason is one where they really emphasize just how much of a stuck-up, not stuck-up, like uptight little like stick in the mud he really is. This is a man that grew up with military training, basically, who legitimately believes in army ideals, and who I think he should be an uptight,
oh god, he's an army brat.
I think he should be an uptight little army brat, honestly. I think he really should be. I wish that was just more how he was written. I wish he just had
quite something.
I wish he just had like zero ability whatsoever to relate to children his age. That'd be fun.
If that were the case, I'd be constantly feeling sorry for Piper.
Well, that'd be something.
It'd be something. Honestly, that'd be more emotion than I ever felt about their two relations than I do now. Yeah, because it can be summed up with this.
Yeah, there's really nothing to it. It doesn't have a pulse.
Literally, it's just
Yeah.
Honestly, I feel like there'd be more spice between. A reason why I'm saying this is because I've noticed Leo has been consistently calling Piper Beauty Queen, and I'm not sure if that was intentionally reminiscent of Annabeth and Percy's nicknames, but it definitely made me remember it. I know for a fact they're not doing that.
Oh,
but
no, absolutely not.
But if that was a thing that happened, I feel like I'd probably respond like, oh, okay, there's actually going to be some sparks going on, maybe? Let me rephrase it, not sparks. There's going to be some drama going on.
That is unfortunate when, Leo, Piper has more chemistry with Leo the one party member that she is almost certainly not going to fuck. Like, I mean, people even argue that like Leo has more chemistry with Jason than Jason does with Piper.
Honestly, like they had to. Oh, right. Going back to the Medea fight, she got them fighting each other, and like they grieved out their opinions at each other. Like, Leo, why don't you take anything seriously? Why the fuck am I always in your shadow?
They have
And
the
like,
dynamic.
yeah, and like there's a little bit of something going on there. Like,
Reminds me of a Tumblr post that I saw though, where someone was like, "Oh, it's funny how people are always saying that Jason x Leo could never be a thing because Jason isn't gay," and then they leave it at that.
But he is Roman.
No, Jason isn't gay. Just a joke being like Leo has the energy of a scrawny little bisexual man. This is Jason, however.
Yes.
I gotta bring out all my Roman jokes. I'm just like, yes, the Romans. Remember how the Greeks invented the orgy and the Romans said, "Hey, what if we invited women to them?" Perfection. Anyway, end joke. The next thing that we see here is that Piper actually confesses to the group that her dad's being held hostage.
I'm a traitor.
She was told to derail the mission in order to save him. And Hedge immediately points out all of the flaws in what the giant was saying and how, like, oh, well, you know, he couldn't kill him right now because it would get rid of his leverage, and he was probably planning on killing you no matter what you did. And that's great because it basically guarantees that betrayal is absolutely not where they're going here. Not that I ever assumed it was, but you know, unfortunately, doesn't bode well for her father's chances if he was never going to go through with it.
Also note, the others in the gang were just like, "Oh, well, thanks for telling us. Why didn't you tell us sooner? We would have tried to fit it into the plan."
Yeah, and that was sweet.
They're kind of chill about it. Yeah.
Brought a tear to her eye. It was great. And these guys are bonding. They're bonding.
Maybe they're finally going to start resembling friends. After, like, what are we, chapter 34 in?
Yeah, chapter 34-ish, they're becoming friends. Listen, in all fairness, it took Annabeth and Percy a while to become friends, too.
Okay, but they had spice in the relationship.
They had spice. They had a tier SS plus dynamic. No one will contest Persebeth. Or if you do, I don't understand you. Chapter 34.
Oh yeah, they killed some dogs or something.
Oh yeah, Coach Hedge takes on some wolves and he says he's fine and would actually. He's just built different. Reminded me of.
Is this where you bring up
someone.
rocks?
Reminded me of someone. I don't. Okay. Do you want to give the context?
I am the great Drex. My D&D character that we play on Sundays. Basically,
We don't stream that one. That's for us.
Yes, that's personal. Basically, he is a kobold who fancies himself a dragon. He's a sorcerer. You know, what traditionally should be a squishier class because it's a caster. No, he frontlines. He literally will run up and be like, "Ah, way, I can take it." He sees a trap and like, "I'll probably be fine."
We've had to
weirdly enough, he does.
We've had to repeatedly tie him to various things to keep him from running off. Eyes the rogue is very frustrated sometimes.
Yeah. Basically, he's like Pippin.
The dog.
Well, not just the dog, let me rephrase it. You know how Gandalf gets annoyed with Pippin because Pippin's always doing something he's not supposed to be doing?
Pippin the dog's namesake, I understand, yes.
Yes.
Fool of a
he's like... Exactly. He's like Peregrine Took.
Yes. Anyway, my note was that he's literally Rux. Coach Hedge is literally Rux. Also, I didn't know that this introduces the actual origin of the word lycanthropy, by the way, which I thought was neat. Zeus turned King Lycaon into a wolf for trying to feed him human meat in order to test if Zeus was a god actually or not. Zeus was so insulted by it that he said, "Haha, you're a wolf now. Fuck you. Fuck you, actually." And, should have known the surprise wolves were just a setup, though, for Thalia to appear with the huntresses. Let's go. Our girl is back. Family reunion time.
And then we switch to Leo's POV, where
Makes
immediately starts
perfect
crushing
sense.
on her.
Yep, makes perfect sense. Oh yeah. Leo specifically loves girls that won't give him the time of day. It's great. He says that specifically.
Yeah, I think his type is scarily similar to mine. Girls who could also just kick his ass.
I made this note where he's gotten a crush on literally every female character he's seen thus far, except for like Piper. And I wrote down this quote. Thalia stared at him as if he just evolved from Pond Scum. Yeah, he was definitely liking this girl.
You have that line written down too.
So my next note is Leo, are you okay? In parentheses, relatable.
Oh, I literally have it written down. I'm sending you a screenshot of that just because I find it.
I believe
you
you.
can
Don't
ignore.
send me a screenshot. Please don't send me a screenshot.
Okay.
But also, this is also where we find out the origin. So Jason has this scar on his. Where is it? Is it on his like upper lip? I think it's on his upper lip. Yeah, it's on his upper lip. He has a scar on his upper lip. It's like a mysterious, like it's described here, and you're thinking like, oh, did he get it in battle? Did he get it like fighting in the Roman army? Did he get it as the badass that we all know him to be at this point? No, he ate a stapler when he was 2. Thalia says this. She recognizes him by the scar, being like, oh, "You're my brother,
my dumbass brother."
That's my dumbass brother who ate a stapler and almost died." It was amazing. It was really good. That was great. I love when a spooky scar from a character has a stupid reason behind it. The only time I don't like it was probably the one time Marvel did it, just because they said it was something else at first. You can't bait and switch us like that. But
yeah, because not to get too tangential, but they were saying like, "Oh, I'm not gonna tell you because it was that bad, and you guys are soft."
It's like, oh, you can't. That was lame. That was lame. And I feel like if they didn't hype it up, I would have found it funny. They didn't hype it up, I would have been fully on board, because it's very funny usually. So
yeah, spoilers. It was a space cat.
Oh yeah, chapter 36. We're back to we're at Jason's. Are we actually? No, actually, are we on Jason's POV? No, we're not. I made the note that we're still not. We see Jason and Thalia's reunion from Leo's POV. Jason even tells Leo to stick around. Weird. Jason tells Leo to stick around, being like, and Leo's like, "Oh, because this is such an emotional moment for him. He needs someone there with him." It's like, no, it's because it's your turn. You were given the mic. You were given the mic and really realized that you needed to be here for some reason, and so now you're here.
If I remember right, I think it was even pointed out that he kind of felt ignored during this, and was like, "Why am I here?"
You shouldn't have been. You shouldn't have been, is the thing, Leo. I love you, but this was not your chapter to have.
Okay, now we're switching back.
But yeah, so I will give it these notes though, my conflicted notes here, which is that Leo, who is going through his own arc about not being able to people very well, despite coming across as pretty outgoing. It's like interesting on principle that they made this choice, and I can see the potential justification behind keeping it like this. Even though I mostly think it's lame. Like, this is more the limitations of this format. It should have stuck to Jason's POV longer. It just leaves us guessing about Jason's mental state a lot here. And considering he's otherwise a pretty simple and straightforward character, a bit of mystique isn't bad, but I would really rather just he have something else going on for him. Like, any kind of reaction would have been appreciated. An interesting one more so. At least we get a bit. He's clearly conflicted about the whole thing, since the story he learned wasn't a happy one and it didn't cure his amnesia. I mentioned the story before, the whole thing about how his mom was like vying for Zeus's attention, was using her children as tools in order to gain that attention, and basically fucked up so bad Zeus had to sacrifice Jason to Hera in order to Zeus.
Yeah, Zeus literally pulled I almost said space, no. Pulled mythological CPS.
Oh yeah. And that's how Jason got left on the Romans' doorstep and got adopted, luckily, and not eaten by wolves.
It was like a 50-50 shot.
Anyway, chapter 37. Oh yeah, this is where I realized the windbag thing was a joke, was a whole Odyssey thing. I didn't recognize that until they said it directly.
Oh, did you not?
The wind backpack. No, I didn't. I didn't clock it until just a second. Or not just a second, but just a second while I was reading in my notes when I took that exact note. We get some of Jason's thoughts here, about the whole reunion with Thalia, and I mostly found those thoughts to be kind of unremarkable. I didn't make many notes about them. I was just like, yeah, it's about the exact reaction that you thought it'd be, where he's
Weirdly,
kind of conflicted and feeling bad about it.
yeah, weirdly enough, I think I kind of preferred seeing it through Leo's eyes just because he added in sass comments of just like, oh yeah, he makes a small flirt at Thalia and then just completely ignored. Like, that. Okay, that's kind of funny.
And again, like I was saying before too, where it's like Jason is a character that has so little going on. What you like, whatever you imagine him to be going through is more interesting than what actually is happening.
It's sad to say, but I think weirdly enough, he might have been left better as a side character, so we didn't know what he was thinking.
Yeah, maybe. Anyway, chapter 38, my only note is Coach Hedge pulls. Okay, so we make it to Aeolus's island, and Thalia has to stay behind because Leo accidentally burns down the ice bridge. And
and Leo also had that eureka moment.
Yeah, he had a eureka moment. What describe the eureka moment?
Oh, basically remembering it was just like, all right, so, the prophecy, or was it Hera? I forgot what it was. They said that, Jason, you're the bridge, right? What if we're thinking about this all wrong? What if we're supposed to be trying to find the giant? The one that has Piper's dad. Remember that?
Yeah.
Because the main quest was find Hera, and they're like, yeah, but then he would lead us to the king.
There we go. But right after that, they go meet Aeolus, who is described as looking kind of like plasticky, and by that, like kind of stretched out, like he had a facelift too many.
Honestly, I kind of was just imagining like Tenna/Spamton with him.
I was thinking of the announcer guy from Hunger Games, actually, personally. But Tenna's fair. But yeah, he's like eternally stressed out because of all the gods constantly asking different demands of him, and seems to have been put under some kind of mild hypnosis. But he's so fucking busy he didn't even notice. Nor has any of his assistants, because he can't keep an assistant for more than 5 minutes. That's not an exaggeration. Not an exaggeration, by the way. I think his current assistant said that she started
12.
like an hour ago, and that she's lasted longer than most.
Oh, I thought it was like 12 hours.
12 hours, maybe, something like that. Either way, it seems like he goes through them very, very quickly. And this assistant is a wind nymph, one that immediately is hot on Coach Hedge.
He has Riz.
He has
Cannon.
Riz, and
I love that for him.
And he's great too. He's just like he's just there like, hey baby, hey, like he like starts rizzing her up. He starts like saying poetry at her, and she's just like tee-hee blushing, just looking away, and all the others are just looking on like horrified as his horrible flirting works. And he's just like, oh baby, you and me need to go out sometime, eh? She's like, oh, of course, a handsome thing like yourself.
And the best part about it is it saves their lives.
It does, because she helps them in the end when they end up getting thrown off the island. Aeolus does help them a little bit in that he agrees to stop killing demigods, but he's still not very happy with them by the end, as is the nature of these things.
Yeah, he at least forgave the demigod thing because 1, he forgot about it, and 2, they gave him the wind spells.
Also, apparently Jason's met him before, and Aeolus is not happy about Jason coming back so soon to demand something again, regardless of whether Jason remembers it. But yeah, the wind nymph helps him out, and also it's great too. I find it so funny because I feel like the way they're acting is almost like Coach Hedge is the catch, right? That's the way she's acting, like he's out of her league. I can't overstate how funny this is.
I think there was even a line where it's like, yeah, I have that effect on nips.
Yeah, like it really cannot be like We keep on comparing him to Danny DeVito for a reason. He's described as like a short, squat, little, like fat little satyr with the pot
They
belly.
gave him a yellow zoot suit, didn't they?
They did give him a yellow zoot suit. Aphrodite gave him a yellow zoot suit. It was horrible.
He fooled. Aphrodite knew what she was doing, apparently. She's just like, you know what? I could put him in literally anything. He still has the riz.
The nymph was into it. It was great. Speaking of which, before Aphrodite puts him in the yellow zoot suit, though, she has a conversation with Piper. And here we get the one little hint of the type of character of the type of character arc that I would have liked to see more, which is her gently chastising Piper for being a bit judgmental about how she looks down upon like Aphrodite in the cabin and her powers in general. You know, this is kind of her first proper step into like actual self-confidence at this point. And though that is, you know, a lot of that is mostly pushed aside for the sake of, well, the more major plot, the more impression plot of her father going missing and us needing to figure that out. We find out a lot of her Aphrodite and her father's history here. Like, specifically, the one thing that they're really emphasizing is the fact that her father is kind of a delicate, fragile man, and how,
Yeah.
in all likelihood, he will be super, super traumatized by this whole situation. That he's not really the type of person that is able to accept that that gods and monsters are real and still just like go about his life normally. It's not something he's equipped to do. And again, a lot of this has to do with these traumas, many of them like implied to be racialized, and this whole, you know, he's clearly disconnected from himself, his identity, and even his life. I'm sure if we got more of him, it would be easy to conclude that he's some kind of depressed amongst other things.
Yeah.
And,
I'm gonna be honest, Aphrodite came off a lot kinder than I was anticipating.
yeah, they're definitely trying to shift her a bit kinder compared to how much of a mean little shipper she was the last time we saw her. Like before we saw her,
it was kind of funny.
It was funny, but like the last time we saw her, she was acting as someone who mostly viewed other people as dolls for her to play and toy with. And here she is actually pretty accurately pretty accurately describing what her former lover might be feeling here, and seeming to be even worried for him in some vague sense, at least.
Yeah, in fact, she herself said, like, oh yeah, he never even knew he was with the goddess, just because I specifically knew that would still wreck his mental state.
For sure. I have a lot to say about him, and I'm still just holding it. I'm trying to hold it in for a bit longer until I get to it. Until we get to the end properly, really. But also, I this little note here, which is that Aphrodite was born from Uranus's essence. They say this essence. It's like very explicitly sperm in the mix.
Yes.
They tossed his dingleberries into the ocean. And that made her. I've seen at least one person write as a joke that Poseidon is her mother.
Oh, what's that so funny to me?
Should be. Of course it's cunty Neil Illustrator Poseidon, by the way. I don't like.
Of course.
Everyone wants to see him pregnant. I'm like, me too. Chapter 40. Really the only note here is that, you know, this is them fully finalizing the path forward. Gotta go do the giant thing to save Piper's dad and hopefully be led to where Hera is. Then we save Hera and save the world, hopefully.
Yeah.
Stop Gaia from fucking up.
Yeah. Oh, and they basically borrow a helicopter.
Oh yeah. They'll give it back, they say. They claim. They don't.
Yeah. It's fine. One of them's rich.
So chapter 41. Funny little thing that Jason hasn't realized he's the leader yet. They all kind of look to him like, yeah, duh, we're gonna follow your lead. Who do you think is the one running the show? Us? No,
What do you think it's Leo? He has self-esteem issues.
I'll give him the credit that, like, yeah, he is the most experienced, and they do have quite a lot of trust for him. I think really my only thing was, again, that, like, the friendship doesn't feel as solidified as I feel like they want it to seem.
Yeah.
But still, he definitely has at the very least earned his spot as leader. And oh yeah, this is where I was bringing in the, like, fan theory that Leo has a crush on Jason and that it was never requited. And I think I see the bones of it here a bit, but I'm not convinced that it isn't just a good friendship and healthy admiration, at least for now. I don't. Maybe we'll see where it takes us. Who knows? Maybe I'll be singing a different tune later, but not in the same way that it's, like, feels so painfully obvious that Nico has a crush on Percy. Anyway, that feels very, like,
intentional.
Yeah, if you know what you're looking for, then yes, it's there. Okay, so chapter 42. This is where we're finally facing against the giant, and Piper tells the giant a big fuck you. She's not betraying her friends. We knew this was gonna happen, but it's still sweet to see, and it's especially sweet that we get it from Leo's point of view, because, you know, zero self-esteem man. He's there like, oh gosh, I do have friends. She would help us, like, like, even if it was so obvious, he was still taken off guard, and just for that, I'm like, good for him.
Someone values me enough to not kill me for their own father.
Good for him. Oh, Leo.
The poor traumatized boy who believed he killed his mom for the longest time.
So in chapter 43, it is fully established, and though this was implied from here already, that while Percy and the gang were doing their own Tatanamaki, that Jason and the Roman camp were also doing their whole thing, taking down the throne of Kronos on, like, the whole other coast. Yeah. On the whole other coast. Chiron lied and said it just, like, collapsed spontaneously, but no, these guys were actually enraptured in a heated battle, and this is where we get confirmation of that. Making Jason once again the protagonist of a story that we have not seen, and that has its issues. And in chapter 44, Zeus helps.
Yep. Oh,
Zeus
wait, we
helps a
forgot to
little.
mention, like, the major through line of everything. Gods and demigods must work together because the giants suck.
That's how you take down a giant. Because the giants were made to be, like, the gods' perfect counters, basically. In order to defeat them, you need, like, literally need a god and a giant a demigod and a god to work together to defeat them. Which means the gods are gonna have to start playing ball if they want this to work out. Hence why Daddy Zeus comes in here to try and help a bit. And that's just how they manage to take down this giant over here. And so we get Piper's dad back. He is alive, but he is not exactly well.
His sanity is questionable.
My very first note on chapter 45 is that, oh, her dad is absolutely not okay. I think my discomfort with this, because I have felt a discomfort with it, and it took a while to solidify, was that if the genders were reversed, it would probably be seen as kind of paternalistic and sexist, right? Like, imagine a version of this where it was like a teenage boy and his mom being kidnapped and traumatized, and him having to wrestle with whether to decide for her to erase her memories for the sake of her delicate soul not being tarnished.
Honestly, I would be
weird,
throwing accusations of, like, oh, what, are they trying to do a historical woman stereotype thing?
And just because the genders are reversed doesn't make it less hacky. It doesn't make it less kind of weird and paternalistic in its own ways. You know, Piper having to protect her fragile father is a weird parent-child dynamic to put in your young adult, like, in your young adult novel.
Yeah, honestly, I thought they were going to subvert that at first, because for a little bit there, it kind of looked like, oh, are they not going to give it? And then he saw monsters while they're on the helicopter. Yeah. Oh, nope, there goes his brain.
Yeah. You know, I mean, you understand why he would be traumatized by this experience. I feel like any reasonable person, like, totally would. but it still
Mhm.
feels weird that the takeaway is that his teenage daughter needs to protect him.
Yeah.
And that, like, again, I'll get into why I have specific discomfort with that later, but just even with the genders as they are, it all still feels kind of odd. In fact, I'll get into it right now in chapter 46. Okay, so in the end, she gives him the potion and makes it his choice as to whether he drinks it or not, and he does. So she gives him the choice, and he decides to drink it, and they have a whole thing of like, well, maybe one day we can have this talk, and you can tell me all about it once I'm ready. And he even like leaves with saying that, like, oh, you've gotten so mature. When did you grow up? Very fond, all very sweet. But here's the fucking thing. Okay, so I want to make it clear. I do think he's an interesting character. I just also think this is kind of a weird message to give to your teen readers. A kid shouldn't have to protect their parent from the world. It should be the other way around. I'm basically left either wanting to judge him far more harshly than the book intends me to, or to have to see this as kind of poorly conceived. If they tried even a little harder to show the ways in which he is a genuinely fragile person who means well, but maybe isn't all that well suited to be a father for one reason or another, like giving us compelling evidence about poor mental health or even introduced possibility of substance abuse, then maybe. But not only would those things are those things that I doubt these relatively squeaky clean books would ever address, the latter may actually be taken as kind of racist, feeding into certain Native American stereotypes. I appreciate it for being more effectively bittersweet than anything we've gotten so far, but it's still really messy. This is maybe where I have to acknowledge that all of the books since The Lightning Thief have their own stumbles with complicated parental relationships. Annabeth's weird thing about proving herself to her mother that kind of works, Carter and Sadie's father basically choosing his wife over his children when they're the ones that need him most desperately, plot be damned. This is a thing with a lot of YA books in general, honestly. You can't make them all orphans, but then you do have to contrive some reason as to why their parents are letting them go on super dangerous quests and such. The typical answer is to make them not very good parents, but when you're too squeamish to commit, you get shit like this, where a reasonable adult reading this would see them as pretty bad parents, but the plot kind of doesn't want you to think about it. Sally and Annabeth's dad are probably thread the needle the best, having their own flaws for sure, but also being plenty comfortable rolling up and protecting their kids the best they can, and trusting their kid well enough to handle it when shit gets too magical. They don't need to be protected, and to the satisfaction of the reader, they never get in the way, and they still manage to be well-rounded characters in their own rights. But yeah, to clarify, my problem isn't that he's an imperfect father. My problem is that the book seems to have no problem with his 15-year-old daughter taking care of him. Yeah, that's basically the end of my whole spiel there.
Good spiel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just think maybe it's a weird message to be giving that, like, no, at 15 you are old
And
enough
plus-
to take care of your parents. Or again, feeds back into as well the thing I said about, like, empathizing for your parents. It's like, well, that's all good and that's all well and good, but like, I've seen plenty of people take that so far as to say that, like, you should put
emotionally help regulate.
Yeah, you're not saying, emotionally regulating your parents, or even allowing your parents' emotions to take precedence over your own needs as a child, are all like, it's all flirting with what is essentially like child abuse.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, encouraging your children readers to say that, like, this is good actually, and this shows how mature she is, and it's like that is ideologically a bit mean-spirited, to quote the to who am I quoting there actually? To quote, I'm Ursula K. Le Guin. Ursula K. Le Guin. She said about the Harry Potter books, calling them ideologically mean-spirited. So yeah. Also, yes, Leo can fly a helicopter. Don't worry about it. He like puts his hand on it.
He's a fastest kid. Don't think about it too much.
Yeah, it's great.
Mm-hmm.
And
but fly they do, and also Coach goes to Hollywood.
Coach goes to Hollywood, and the wind nymph gets a job as Piper's dad's new assistant, because the old assistant we kind of glossed over it. Old assistant Not only did she send Piper to the correctional facility camp, but also she allowed their father to get kidnapped and didn't report it.
Yeah.
And she gets in trouble for that.
Also, Coach and the Aura are totally on it on the down low.
They're also helping him out. They're gonna help out. They're gonna help out Tristan. They're gonna help Tristan McLean.
Yeah, because Coach, at the end of the book, he's his life coach now.
He's his life coach now. He's gonna help
Love
him
it.
out. We love it. We love it. Also, chapter 47, Leo is so sad. He's so sad thinking about how he doesn't have family to return to. He's looking at like Jason looking forward to see Thalia and Piper talking with her dad, and he's just like, I'm alone.
It basically is a situation where it's just like they have happy endings to go back to. What the fuck do I have, man?
Oh gosh. Okay. Chapter 48, Final Battle Part 2, Electric Boogaloo. We still have to rescue the Queen Bitch. Hera is, we find Hera. See that she's in a cage that's like sinking to the ground. And oh no, it's Kione, the Ice Princess. Remember her? No, you don't. Don't lie to me.
What do you mean? She was totally important. Don't you remember how those winds crashed the Festus?
Don't you remember how there was that one line about how Aeolus was kind of brainwashed, maybe, or something, and then this is where it starts to backfire about how just fucking dense these books are. It's very hard to remember details well enough to even know. Like I forgot that there was a secret bad guy, and then
yeah,
like it's not twist villain. There was I was not able to be twisted because I didn't remember that I was looking for a twist villain.
It'd basically be like this. You're told at the beginning there's a traitor, and like, oh no, I guess we have to watch out, and then like 20.
And then you don't think about it for 40 chapters. And then, oh, it's Kione. Who?
There's no succinct way to point out even the confusion I had of just like, oh shit, I forgot about that.
Yeah, anyway, Kione, I don't know.
Oh, and there's like one other throwaway line of like, she disagreed with her father in a way that seemed like they've had this argument before.
So she's like, I'll be the North Wind now. Like, yeah, okay. Yeah.
And she was like, all right, go shut the fuck up, go north, I don't care.
Cool, whatever.
And then she like dies, I think. I wasn't paying attention.
Me neither. Literally, my note is that I forgot to make note of her. And like, she's Boreas' daughter. Leo falls in love with her. She's mostly unremarkable, but in hindsight, sure, she probably set her brothers on them, was being less cooperative than strictly necessary. And obviously there was something extra going on in the background and yada yada yada. Who cares? This book is quite
also I actually do have some notes on her. She tried to be like, Leo, join me because I know you have a crush on me. Like, who the fuck do you think I am, man?
Who are you?
I am not betraying my friends. You're gonna kill me anyway, probably. And then she was like, okay, I guess you die. Then they fight, and Leo is given the specific credit of, Leo, if it wasn't for you and your firepower, we'd be dead. I think it was Piper who said that.
Just read out what I'd written. This book is quite dense, and I must say, and it might be worth interrogating why I seem to remember it so much worse than the others, despite having read it more recently, technically, before the rereads, I mean. It's long, it can drag a bit, and so much happens. Sometimes I feel like it doesn't all have time to land, especially with characters switching POV so often, keeping us from emotionally lingering on some beats before we've already moved on. It also keeps me from being able to keep track of characters like Kione and all the clues that she's not what she seems, or that there even is a secret bad guy we didn't know about. I can't keep track of that much, y'all. At least the book isn't boring.
Yeah.
In chapter 49. My one note here is that, I was wondering why she thinks it would be so easy to set the Greeks and Romans on each other, and then I remembered they're Greeks and Romans. Tell me I'm wrong.
You're not. You're absolutely not. Heck, all you need to probably do. Oh, by the way, Keon's grand plan is like, oh, I'm just gonna kill Jason and leave his body here, next to the Greeks, and then they're just gonna automatically. Yeah, those two.
Yeah, why not? It's like, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Good a plan as any, I guess. I don't care at this point.
Honestly, that's more elaborate than what you really needed to do. All you really needed to do was just go up to the Roman camp and be like, hey, the Greeks said you guys are losers.
So you send a big wooden horse. So okay.
For those who don't know, because not everyone bit of lore, Aeneas, I think it was, survived the Trojan Wars and founded Rome. So sending the Trojan horse would definitely be
Definitely get their
great.
attention.
Yes.
Like one amazing post I saw was someone saying that. So like later on, they do actually have to invade the Roman camp. And so someone was saying that, like, you know what, they shouldn't have had the big ship that Leo builds. They should have done the big wooden horse. Because imagine them rolling up with the big wooden horse and just them being like, I know it's you in there. Get out. We're not gonna let you into the city.
The funny thing would be, imagine if they do that, but then just go the other way, like go all the way around. Just be like, oh yeah, the horse is a giant distraction.
Listen, Percy should have thought of the big wooden horse gambit. He should have considered it.
It's genius.
He should have considered it. Okay. Chapter 50. So we get Jason's big fight, where he's a total badass, and I go to my earlier point of him showing up fully formed. You know, this never quite feels earned, but it's cool in the moment, at least.
Mm-hmm.
Though I will still say, you don't come to the end feeling like you know him as a person, not in the same way you do with Percy, or even Piper and Leo, who at least get to see develop in real time in their own ways, but, you know, they kind of gloss over a lot of Reardon's action scenes, because I feel like there's never all that much to say. Even though I think we on average like them a good amount, like they're well done. There's hardly anything wrong with them.
I think the only times we've ever really brought them up is like someone gets fucked up for long term.
Yeah. It's just I think it's like
because like we didn't.
Yeah.
Oh, go on.
No, it's just it's there's not usually much story to talk about there. Really, but the only criticism you can offer is just like, well, is it cool? Is it like well paced? Like usually, like yeah. So I mean I think. If we ever come across a bad fight, I'm sure we'll comment on it. I feel bad sometimes though, being like we never really point out how good the fights are. I mean, we try to in this way where we're like, well, we didn't really comment on the fights, but you know,
our limp apology.
Our limp apology.
But like we didn't even comment on the entirety of the Cyclops, ogre, giant, whatever they were, I forgot. Fight, even though like Piper literally broke her ankle, and like that was a thing for multiple chapters, just because like it didn't really play a big factor in things.
It was cool how both Piper and Leo got their own little missions.
Wins.
Yeah, they got their own little wins. That was nice. But there's really not.
Oh wait,
not too much to say.
Yeah, actually probably should have mentioned this. Because of that fight, they found out Leo has firepower.
They did.
That's pretty cool, dude, and that's about it.
Yeah, it had no impact.
Yeah.
They reacted exactly as you knew they'd react, where they were fine with it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, chapter 51, we're nearing the end. The notes I have, is that the more we learn about New Rome, the more concerned I am. This is where we find out about the kids being abandoned in a burnt field, being either eaten or adopted by wolves as their rite of passage. The heavy emphasis on this idea of only the strong survive. And I'm like, oh yeah, nah. They gotta address this. They gotta address this. That's fucked up.
Yeah. Hey kids, you want to get eaten by a wolf?
No, too bad.
Either that or you become an alpha male like Jason.
Shut up. I'm gonna kick your ass.
Okay, so chapter 52. They come back to the camp. They're literally teleported back by Hera, and Leo throws up. It's very funny. And the first thing Piper does is pull a knife on Drew.
I have 2 notes for this chapter. Yes, fuck Drew. And, hey, Gleason, that lucky satyr.
Oh, yes, for sure. But I like unhinged Piper pulling a knife on Drew and declaring Jason Grace to be her wife. Good for her. That's the first time I felt anything about their relationship.
Agreed. In fact, it was kind of funny because she was literally saying like, you want a duel for it? I'll duel you for counsel." Then Drew was like, "Don't be so silly." And then that's when she got the knife. She's like, "I'll do it right now. We can fight right now."
Drew, pussies out.
Yes.
Anyway, chapter 53. The Romans were the fucking Confederates in the Civil War? What?
Oh god.
What the fuck? Rick, stop doing this. Stop doing this, please. Please, for the love of God. If the 1960s, they mentioned the 1960s, talking about how tense things were then, and I'm like, if it turns into a Cold War thing, I'm done. I'm deleting my channel.
They
We're
made
done
it
here.
worse.
We're done here. Rick, what could you have possibly meant by that? Rick, what did you mean by that?
I can't believe it. The Romans were the communists.
So, we need to maybe have a serious
You know
talk.
what? Fuck it. I'm making a new headcanon. The fucking Baba Yaga was the communist, okay?
Yep. We need to
It's
have a
canon.
serious talk about it's like this is a pattern, right? Like we saw this with the World War II thing, and it was just as comfortable then when they were like the Haiti states or the fucking Nazis.
Yes.
And here they're like the Romans are the goddamn Confederates in the Civil War. We need to have a serious talk about the ways that Rick kind of limply appropriates history for his books, not really understanding the implications of what he's saying, because he clearly buys into the hoax version of history that you get taught in American high school a lot of the times. Because this is totally falling into that lie about how the Civil War was brother against brother and all the other things people say to twist away from what it was actually about, slavery, getting like dangerously close to like lost cause type ideology, or at least the type of ideology that can very easily lead to that.
Multiple states who seceded specifically cited in the reason for secession is because they wanted to keep the institution of slavery. When people say states' rights, it's literally states' rights to own slaves. Fuck you all. Fuck the lost cause.
And despite what your 5th grade teacher told you, it was not a tragic battle of brother against brother. It was people who wanted to own slaves against people who thought that was wrong. Listen, I like him. But to absolutely no one's surprise, the Roman book has some serious, some concerning political implications and manages to flirt with some of those fascist adjacent talking points that it was never really ready to address. I mean, I like this book better than the Kane Chronicles or like Titan's Curse, but this is the first one we've read that I think is ideologically kind of busted. And I guess I just have to hope that by the time we get to Blood of Olympus, that some of it will get addressed. The thing this shares with Kane Chronicles, though, is that I'm once again finding myself frustrated with how Riordan hasn't meaningfully evolved as a writer still, and that these books haven't changed much at all aside from being longer. We're not even halfway through. This may change. So yeah, that's kind of what I came to by the time I was here, which is just that again, if they come around to the end and actually do manage to say, okay, here's everything wrong with Rome, then this whole criticism becomes much, much softer. Yes, but
however,
yeah, however, there is like I think it's here that I kind of have to come to the conclusion that like Rick is kind of a liberal derogatory. At this point, he's very much these books are a little neoliberal at this point, as far as like how they kind of take history at face value and how they take a lot of this ideology, like kind of the whole Western, like spirit of the West, Western expansionism, fucking, like this is a fucking pattern, right? Like,
unfortunately, so
goddamn propaganda history, basically, to fuel to fuel the lore of your world. It's not giving. It's not giving. I mean, it could be worse, right? Like, I keep on thinking of ways it could be worse, right? Like, at least he said ACAB. At least he said ACAB that one time in K Chronicles. It could be worse.
true.
It could be worse, but
Plus, he
again,
has some good, well, at least allegedly, since technically I haven't seen any of the canon cases of the LGBT rep.
I've read some of Harry Potter. I know it could be worse. Like if you want I'm never ever going to do a series on Harry Potter unless I could get the literal perfect group of people to sit down and really really dig into those fucking things. I would never ever want to bring more attention to them just to get my limp fucking take on it. But like could be worse. I'm looking at this, I know it could be worse. But again, this is just my hope of being like, well, if they get better, I will look back on this book at being just a slow start. And I can put away all of these more deeper ideological issues. But we gotta get there when we get there. We gotta get there when we get there. And if I remember, I mean, I'm even just going off of what I kind of remember from Son of Neptune, and I'm like, I know it's I know it's not necessarily going to go as hard as I would like. At least not as of that book. So I think mentally I'm already like bracing myself, and I've been burned so many times at this point that I'm like, I'm not expecting the best, but I'm hoping for it.
Well, we can cross our fingers until then.
Cross your fingers. I already bought all these books. We're reading all of them. You're reading all of them.
That I am.
So, chapter 54, Leo is given a purpose, a job to make the new ship before summer solstice. And, well, he now has somewhere to belong. Arc complete. We're good. Someone completed their arc in a satisfactory way. Hell yeah. Chapter 55. My main note here was just that I think it's neat how, like, this is another time. So, like, throughout the book, we've seen Percy being referenced different times, mentioned in abstract. You see pictures of him everywhere. Like, he just feels like he's missing in a way that I think is really interesting as the reader. The fact that his presence hangs so heavy, but, you know, just a Percy-shaped hole in this book and in our hearts. And I think that's a good way to actually, like, get across to the reader this feeling that, like, yes, he's missing, yes, it's dire, you know, rather than it just being like, oh, he's just on the bus for a little while, don't worry about it. Like, you do actually feel like
his lack of presence.
Yeah, like,
in a way, I kind of hope that I feel similar for Jason not being at the Roman camp, just because narratively he is supposed to be like the Roman Percy.
That's the hope. And
hope is definitely hope.
Finally, with chapter 56, we finally get the confirmation, though of course we've all suspected at this point, of where Percy is and what condition he's in. That, well, this Jason being sent here wasn't just a one-way thing, it was a trade. So Percy is somewhere in the Roman
Egypt.
camp without his memories.
Oh, so he's not in the House of Life?
No, he's probably in fucking San Francisco. What are you talking about?
Yeah, but didn't they say Percy, he lives in, like, House of Life?
Well, you probably put it together by now, but it was pretty obvious. We have to wait until the Son of Neptune to find out. Anyway, I have my final wrap up here, which is like all my final discussion of themes and such, where I go over everything before we do our conclusion. We are very nearly done. Okay, the themes barrel here. We got theme 1, embracing femininity. So, you know, we got stereotypical mean girl Drew, who's super girly, and this representation of toxic femininity. Opposite of Piper, who's kind of a not like other girls girl, who is called out as being kind of judgmental by her mother, Aphrodite. Theoretically, the arc ends with her finding out that there is a good core to Aphrodite that Selena represented, that's been lost, and that she'll be the one to restore it with her newfound confidence. But it all feels kind of odd, especially if you replace, you know, the word Aphrodite with the word femininity. Because no one that isn't obnoxiously misogynistically not like other girls is saying that femininity itself is broken. No one's really talking about toxic femininity and for a good reason. It's not a systemic issue the way toxic masculinity is. I see what he was going for, but it was missing that extra element, and mostly comes across as kind of judgmental towards a specific type of girlhood. It really is like he took the wrong lesson from Mean Girls, in which, feminine bullying takes a different shape, sure, but the feminine part isn't the problem, and reclaiming femininity from the bad women isn't the answer. It's why Mean Girls ends with the crown getting broken up and distributed. The tiara wasn't the problem, it was the hoarding of the crown and the power. Regina George is to be empathized with as much as she is to be defeated. Hence why it doesn't just end with her getting hit by a bus, right? She joins the lacrosse team and finds new happiness, and we're meant to understand her more wholly as a person, even if we understand that there is something broken with the way that she behaves.
Yeah.
And that same amount of empathy isn't given to Drew, not at all, and it kind of leaves the whole thing to be ideologically very one-sided.
Yeah, because it kind of lingers off on a note as good, bad, not necessarily anything more.
Mm-hmm. Second theme in Theme Barrel is mortal parents are complex too. Everyone has mommy/daddy issues. We got 3 mortal parents to discuss here. We got Jason's mom, an obsessive actress and shitty mom. We already knew her a bit through Thalia, but now we see the ways in which she chased after Zeus, causing problems for everyone. She uses her kids as tools to get power and ends with nothing at the end, not even her own life. We got Leo's mom, a hard-working single mother who basically got caught between a godly feud that she had nothing to do with. She dies, leaving her son alone, and there's not actually much to her aside from Leo Angst TBH,
Well, technically you could bring in the family about, they kind of said this kid's the devil. Literally.
That comes later.
Oh, okay.
We got. Wait, actually, did I mention that? Maybe I swore I wrote that somewhere. What the fuck? Yeah, okay, yeah. Leo's family thought he was the fucking devil and passed him around from family to family, and we wound up deep in the foster system, mostly suffering and all that. Yeah, that's besides the point. Piper's dad is the interesting one. I admit my blind spot not knowing much about Cherokee culture, or if he's an accurate portrayal of this kind of racialized trauma, but I can appreciate the attempt at least. I feel like I mostly said everything I need to earlier. He's very complex. I think it's weird that the main takeaway is his teen daughter taking care of him and how he's too fragile to be able to handle something that every other character in this series seems fine with. And yeah, okay, maybe there's not a centralized message that can be drawn from these 3 parents aside from Rick decided everyone needed their mortal parent to have an element of tragedy to them now, and somehow that's less interesting on average than Annabeth and Percy having relatively stable home lives. And the final theme of the Theme Barrel, isolation and identity. Which I wrote also the subtitle, The Evangelion Coming of Age Gambit.
And it all comes tumbling down. Insert more lyrics here.
Each character has their own feelings of isolation, being either literally or figuratively out of place, or at least having a history with it. They're all keeping some kinds of secrets, and are all trying to figure themselves out, find their places in everything, even if they don't know it yet. It's a straightforward collective arc. They all start off adrift and end up knowing that all they needed was each other. A good old found family narrative that's a bit rote, but if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And I have my conclusion here, if you're ready.
I am indeed.
For how long and dense The Lost Hero is, it's all pretty straightforward and not bad, in my opinion. I started off feeling like we'd all judged it harshly, and by the end I more understood why this had a mixed reception, but I still think it's worth reading. The characters have their issues, the pacing can be a bit busted, but it has a lot of good stuff in there that I think the fans back in the day took for granted. This, to me, could be seen as being much better or much worse once we're in the future, and I've all read the other entries in the series. Basically what I end on. Could be seen as a slow start, has its problems, but I think we on average quite liked it, even as we're being nitpicky.
Yeah.
We both enjoyed our experience.
Yeah, we're being nitpicky, not out of a place of we want to find more things to hate on it, but out of more of a sense of this was our experience with it. It's not bad. We still had things to say about it. Pretty good at some parts as well.
Really just as I'm going forward. And this is kind of it's kind of something that this is a theory that I've had going on for a while, which is that sometimes stagnation in a series can be as bad as literally like declining quality. I do not think this is declining quality. I really think stagnation is the problem here. And all it would have to do to like win me over for the whole series is, to just like do something a little different as we go forward. Advance these themes a little bit more, ideologically progress a bit as we go forward. If it can manage that, then who cares if it had a slow start? We'll be able to sing the series praises. That's my hope anyway. It just, this one just felt a little bit like more of the same, and we're just kind of at the point here where we'd like something a little different.
Yeah.
So we're hoping that we'll get something different. So, Throne of Fire next, by the way, October 3rd. Red Pyramid. Well, no, not Red. Kane Chronicles. More Kane Chronicles.
Yeah.
It's a shorter book. So it's actually quite short. It's like I put this one right aside Lost Hero. It's like 2/3 of the length.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's not long. Which for me, I'm hoping that means that it'll maybe be a bit more pithy. That maybe some of these pacing issues that we're talking about might get a little resolved. But we'll see. I'm gonna start reading like Monday probably. So
and I'll start reading whenever I get the book.
Haha. But yeah. It's shorter, but that doesn't mean you can slack on your schedule because we're gonna go right into Son of Neptune. Son of Neptune is longer than The Lost Hero.
God.
It's longer. So with that, we're done. We're done, baby.
Hey. But shall we sign off then?
We shall sign off.
Oh, we're just doing your sign off, or do you want me to do mine?
I was waiting for you.
Okay, I'm. Whenever it comes to this stream, the book stream, I'm not sure if I should do my sign off since I'm not streaming. But lurkers, chatters, here for a while, here for a little. I thank you all the same. This is Luck powering off, and remember, everyone, lucky days.
And 3, 2, 1.
Good night.